Mr. Chairman, everybody is in from the waiting room.
Thank you, Monty. I appreciate that. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Board of Selectmen meeting, February 15th, 2022. Time is now 6:04, quorum being present. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And with that, as we always do, first up will be public comment. If you'd like to be recognized, raise your hand, use the hand raise function, and we will happily acknowledge you. So I see Toby with his hand up. Monty, if you could go to Toby.
Thank you, Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. I wrote the board over a week ago some of my concerns about the town meeting and specifically about the warrant. Did you get a chance to read that letter?
I believe it was in our packet in the back. Is that correct, Mitch? Yep.
It was in your packet. That's correct.
Yes.
Which is not quite the same as having a chance to read it, but I'll read you out of Chapter 2 of the bylaws, which is town meeting, Section 2, which is time of meetings, and the second part, B, which is meeting dates. The spring town meeting, which will be the annual town meeting for purposes of General Law, Chapter 39, Section 9, primarily concerned with the adoption of an annual budget and other warrant articles which have a fiscal effect on the town, shall meet in April or May. The fall town meeting, which shall be primarily concerned with non-fiscal matters, shall meet in September or October. It goes on from there, not immediately relevant to my concerns. I'm concerned about what the planning board has done. At the last planning board meeting, Jason Shaw said that he had got placeholders on the warrant for all of the planning board articles. All of the planning board articles means a review of the entire zoning bylaw, changes, alterations to different sections, plus 3 entirely new sections, one for the train station, transportation-oriented village overlay district, one for what I call chicken coop apartments, called additional dwelling units, and an entire rewrite of the open space residential design, in plain English, cluster zoning. So those 3 ones that are rewrites in themselves would be more than enough for one town meeting, and to attempt to do the whole thing in one town meeting is asking far too much of the voters' patience or endurance, even if people had had a proper chance to review them before, which at the public hearing they most certainly did not, as all of the speakers were confined to 3 minutes strictly, and no further comments were allowed at later planning board meetings. So my request to you is that you try to persuade Jason Shaw to withdraw the 3 articles that are entirely new for the fall town meeting, which is already, as Mitch Vieira pointed out, cluttered up with the planning board articles. But at a certain point, if there's too much on there, the voters don't have a chance, with all the goodwill in the world, to properly know what they're voting on. Will you please consider that?
Honestly, Toby, I'm not going to lie to you. No, I won't, because on the website, and I'm looking at it right now, all of those changes are available to the public. All the information is there. And I think at this point to do that would not be in the best interest. So Jason came on here. He held 2 public hearings. We had him in so he could also further elaborate on those. And we have them listed on the town website. So we have put everything out there that we possibly could. So with due respect, no, I will not ask him to do that. Now, that doesn't preclude you from doing it, but that's your prerogative.
There are other possibilities, which would be to offer motions at the town meeting to delay the articles to the fall town meeting. I put that proposal to the DPW commissioners, who are concerned about the effect of a great deal of additional housing on the sewer pumping capacity. And I would remind you that at the annual town meeting in 2018, the town voted for Article N, a citizen's petition article offered by Eric Hutchins, which called for a study of sewer pumping capacity, and we never got that study. The DPW commissioners hired an outfit to do it, and it ended in muddle and confusion. And they never saw fit to bring the article to the fall town meeting, which is what Article N called for. And to this day, we don't have the report. And if the voters are to make a fair decision about enabling a great deal more housing for the town, they need the report first. If you get it afterwards, it's after you've opened the barn door and the horses are gone. So please consider that as well.
I understand. And if I may, Toby, that was a concern that I had as well. And I did have this conversation with Bruce Reed about knowing that we're at the upper limits of our capacity right now, and how, multiple units will affect that. So I know that it's on their radar, and nothing that they will do will put anything in jeopardy. So, but accommodations will be made however we have to do that. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that the DPW commissioners are right on top of this.
Not satisfactory, but I have to accept it.
Okay. Anything?
Thank
Do you have
you.
something else? Yeah. Do you have anything
Thank you.
else?
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're very welcome. No problem. Is there anybody else for public comment? Wave furiously, raise your hand, smile, whatever you'd like. Put them all out there and we'll get to you. Monty, I don't see anybody. Do you?
I do not.
Very good. Okay, moving on. We will now go to item C on the agenda, the interview and appointment of a full-time police officer, Joshua Ulrich. I know the chief is here and Josh is here. And Chief, I will let you open this up, and then I will have some comments after, as I'm sure other members of the board will as well. So Chief, take it away.
Great. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to introduce one candidate for the position of full-time police officer with our department for your consideration. Mr. Joshua Ulrich is a resident of Gloucester and has more than 22 years of policing experience, in addition to 6 years as a United States Marine. Josh began his career with the Los Angeles Police Department in 1995. In 2005, he joined the Massachusetts State Police, where he has operated in both a uniformed and plainclothes investigative capacity. As a member of the Massachusetts State Police Detective Unit, he has assisted our department specifically through the years with the successful resolution of many serious investigations. He is a previous recipient of several Rockport Police Department commendations. He holds a master's degree in criminal justice from Curry College and a bachelor's degree in political science from Ithaca College. Additionally, Josh has completed numerous police-specific trainings over the years in a variety of areas that will assist in strengthening our department's professionalism and delivery of service. Josh has received the highest accolades from colleagues and supervisors, as well as his references. He is eager to join our department and answer your questions here this evening. So I present to the board, Mr. Joshua Ulrich.
Thank you very much, Chief. And with that, Josh, I'll turn it over to you if you want to give us a little opening statement, and then we'll go to some questions.
Of course. Thank you very much, Chief, and members of the Selectmen Board, and Mr. Vieira for having me here. I can't really add much for the kind words that the Chief just passed on. I'm a resident of Gloucester. I've been involved with a fair amount of volunteer work. As my children grew up here, I've coached soccer, wrestling, and I've been involved with the U.S. Navy Sea Cadets out of the Gloucester Coast Guard station there. I've had the pleasure of being able to work with your excellent police department here on several investigations where they called in outside assets to help out. Very professional department, and for various quality of life reasons. I live in Gloucester. Rockport's a smaller community, and I'm looking forward to coming to work for you.
That's great, Josh. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the opening. I'll start this off by saying I know Josh. I've known Josh for a while. Josh was my son's wrestling coach, and I know the admiration and respect that these kids had for Josh, and the impact that he's had on the community and the kids in his community has been nothing short of outstanding. I'd be remiss, Josh, if I didn't thank you for your years as a Marine and your contribution to our country. So thank you for that. And to get somebody like you with your experience, it just doesn't happen every day. And I got to tell you this, when I saw this on here, it made me happy because I know the quality and the caliber of the person we're getting. So I'm so happy that you're considering joining us. So thank you for that. I guess I only have one question for you, Josh, because I know a lot about you, and perhaps this, should be considered a public vetting process, and that's fine because you'll be dealing with the public. But what brings you to Rockport?
I would say largely it's a quality of life thing, selfishly. I really want to finish off the end of my career here, maybe the next 6 to 8 years, getting back to community policing, getting to work in a community where I can see some results from my efforts and my work. I live in Gloucester, which is very close. I've spent a lot of time in Lynn and Lawrence and Methuen and Haverhill, and those are long rides, and they can be very taxing. I've had a lot of years in those communities doing business there, and I've got a lot of great experience to show for it as well. But to be able to work this close to home, to be involved with people I know from other walks of life, and try to make a positive difference there, and enjoying what you have going here, I think would be it'd be an excellent way for me to go ahead and apply my experience to my career at this point.
And honestly, Josh, that answer, as complete as it was exactly why the level of comfort here is so high. I'd be remiss if I didn't also welcome Lieutenant Marino. I'm glad to have you here, Lieutenant. It's nice to see the brass here supporting. So with that, I will open it up to the board for other questions. Does anybody have a question? Selectman Murphy.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you currently, let me go back, but I think Selectman Campbell talked about why you want to come to Rockport. Is there a specific reason why you want to come to Rockport?
Well, there is. Again, the reasons that I so stated, Mr. Murphy, and additionally, the commute is very good. It's very close to where I live, and I know people there. One of the things I've found in my prior employer is that you get really spread thin. I have a lot of great contacts throughout the county, both professionally and with the public, but you really never really get deep into one particular community. You show up, you're sort of a project manager. When somebody gets murdered, you show up, you help go ahead and work on that crime and solve it, and then you move on to something else in another place. So it's not the same as being able to establish the roots, and I'm hoping to experience that at this point in my career.
And what type of things would you like to accomplish in it? I mean, you've come from the state police after all these years, coming to a small town. What from the state police, what could you bring to the town of Rockport? Community policing and so forth. A small town.
There was a General Krulak came and talked to my Marine Corps basic school class once, and one of the things that he talked about why Marines are very special, and I always took this to heart, was he said that when the media showed up and rode along with our troops overseas in Iraq at that time, and they always liked riding with the Marines more than I did with some of the other services. And he sort of thought about that. It was because the Marines are very open and willing to help. And he came up with this phrase, he called it, we do windows. And I think sometimes, these small problems, it's all relative. And it's really all about the willingness to get involved, roll up your sleeve, and help out with what needs to be done, more than anything else. And the relationships you form tend to be more rewarding, at least that's my experience, than the type of work you may be doing. I see this as an opportunity to do I think that you have a one size fits all. Your officers here have to have some investigative ability, some community policing. They got to do a little bit of everything. Yeah. And so you have more variety in a department like this. Where I come from, I've been very specialized for a long period of time. So I think, again, all those quality of life things, how close it is to home, I see this as a great opportunity for me personally. But I bring to the table with your department and with your community.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Herm, I saw you have a hand up.
Yes, Officer Ulrich, welcome. I certainly congratulate you for your many professional achievements and civic achievements, local, local, which is important to me. But I have one concern. I said that thinking from my experience in industry and thinking about people that we tried to hire from time to time. Do you have any concerns about stepping down as far as yours will be stepping down to satisfy the goals or the responsibilities of your new role?
Fair question, sir. Thank you. I don't see it as stepping down. I see it as more of a lateral move into a different set of problems and a different set of projects to work on. Again, I have other, pieces of my life outside of my profession that I'm involved in. I have friends and I train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I have, other community activities that I'm very invested in. And so I'm not just I'm not a one-dimensional person. Career is very important to me, but there's other things that I have going on too. I have children, one in college, one just gone in the Coast Guard OCS. And so I don't see this as stepping down at all. And then, in fact, I think there's something to be said for the times that we're heading into. I believe it's very likely that the onus of law enforcement is going to become more decentralized. I think the local is going to become more important in a lot of things, very likely, than the more centralized things we're used to. And I'd like to be part of that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, anything else from the board? Sarah?
I just
Oh,
particularly appreciate Josh's gray hair.
Yeah. Well, listen, I take offense to that, Paul. There you go. Sarah.
They were
go ahead.
hard-earned gray hairs, sir, but thank you.
There you
right.
go. I'm right with you, Josh.
Yes, indeed. I noticed. So you earn those, don't you?
Do we ever?
Good evening. Thanks so much, Josh. I feel like I feel like everyone else has said it all. We are extremely lucky. I feel like we're as lucky tonight as we were the evening that Chief Horvath's resume made it onto our desks. So I feel like, obviously he's done a great job with Lieutenant Marino building up the department, and this is another great step forward. So Chairman Campbell, would you like a motion?
Yeah, just real quick. I just want to close with this, if I can, by thanking Josh. I get where you're going. Thank you for that, Sarah. I often have said, and I've said it to the chief, my only regret for when the chief came in is that I wasn't able to vote for him, because we got a great chief. This is one of those redemptive votes that I have by bringing Josh on. It's exciting. All of our officers in Rockport are appreciated, and we're thankful for what they do. So thank you for that. And Josh, we're glad to have you. So with that, Sarah, please, if you would offer the motion.
Sure. Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Joshua Ulrich as a full-time police officer effective February 16th, 2022. Wow, tomorrow.
That's it.
Get to work.
Thank you very much.
You're
Look forward to
welcome.
working with you and meeting you in person.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Selectman Brackett.
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
Selectman Lilia.
Nay.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 4-1. Josh, welcome. We're very happy to have you. Thank you so much. And we're looking for great things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Very good. Okay. Okay, moving on. Let's get right into the entertainment licenses. Is there a motion on the licenses to open the public hearing?
There is, Mr. Chair. I move that the Board of Selectmen open the public hearings on the 4 applications for entertainment licenses at the Windover, Emerson Inn, Yankee Clipper Inn, and My Place by the Sea to allow for outdoor music on premise and outdoor public address systems.
Very good. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Very good. Motion seconded. Before we get to the vote, I'm just going to read the public hearing notice that was in the paper. Town of Rockport Board of Selectmen Public Hearings, Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. Zoom meeting link will be available on the posted meeting section of the Town of Rockport website, rockportma.gov, prior to the hearings to discuss the applications for entertainment licenses for outdoor music on premises. 6:15 Windover, 257R Granite Street, 6:20 p.m. Emerson Inn, 1 Cathedral Ave, 6:25 p.m. Yankee Clipper Inn, 127 Granite Street, 6:30 p.m. My Place by the Sea, 68 Bearskin Neck, Board of Selectmen, Donald J. Campbell, Jr., Chairman. Just by way of an update, we are going to remove Yankee Clipper this evening from that and take the other three. And we have posted time, so I want to make sure that 6:15, 6:25, 6:30. Yes, we'll be fine. So we'll get through this. I want to make sure we've met our time requirements on the posting. So we have a motion been seconded. Further discussion? Roll call vote. Selectman Brackett.
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
Selectman Lilia.
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. The public hearing is now open. With that, we will take the first one. We're going to do, that opened, just so people are clear on this, we are not going to do each one individually and open and close and open and close. We've opened all of the hearings and we'll call each one of them individually, just so people at home understand how this is going to work. So with that, we will go to Windover. Is there anybody from Windover here tonight that would like to speak?
Mr. Chair, Lisa Hahn is here.
Perfect. Lisa, please, if we can unmute her, that would be great. Lisa, you have the floor.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to a very exciting season this summer. It will be very different from last summer. I am no longer partnering with the Gloucester Stage for their full production. They will be a presence at Windhover, but their plan is to do a youth theater group at Windhover with high school age kids that will be mostly doing a lot of tech work and behind the scenes work. And then for 1 week in July, they will put on a production with, with all the kids that had been there. So that's a little bit different from last summer. So their season will resume in Gloucester. And therefore, I'm really ramping it up with many more dance performances at Windhover this summer. I've reached out to a lot of local companies, including Rockport Academy of Dance. I've reached out to Bosoma. I've reached out to the School of Ballet in North Reading and a group in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I've also reached out to some professional dance companies in New York, similar to what we did last summer. And I'm hoping to also have some music. I am just in the early stages of talking to Tony Beadle and Rockport Music. I'm hoping to do something there if it's possible, and also maybe some Shakespeare. And the last on my list is I want to revive this prose poem of Dogtown Common that was written by Percy Mackay in 1920. And Dogtown has taken on a whole new popularity, I think, recently. So to put on a prose poem and use Windhover as the backdrop, I think will be fun and interesting and really bring the community together. So I'm looking at all the performing arts, theater, dance, and music involving the community. And I'm hoping also to do some open dance classes and yoga classes for the public as well.
That's great. Lisa, thank you so much for summarizing that for us. What time are you planning on going until?
The time frame, we open in mid-May and we usually close by Columbus Day.
No, at night. What kind of
at
hours?
night?
Either?
Oh, well, in the 50 years that we've had Windhover, we've always abided by a 10 p.m. Curfew for any outdoor music and sound. So I'm starting most of the performances at either 7 o'clock or 7:30. And most of them, the most amount of time is 2 hours. So they should all conclude by 9:30 at night, with 10 as the hard, fast curfew time.
Okay, well, that we can determine that with the board, but that's great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, so public questions. Let's go to the public. There's a public hearing. Does anybody have any questions on the Windover application? Raise your hand, use the hand raise function. Nope, no questions? Very good. Is there a motion for Windover? Paul, that's you.
Oh,
I think, Don, I think
Oh.
actually we need to do them all and close the hearing and then vote.
We're
That's
not,
That's how it's written on our thing. We could ask Mitch.
Mitch?
Yes, so you should conduct the hearing portion for each of them, then.
All
close
hearings and then
carry on.
do each motion individually?
And then
Okay.
close and then do each one. Yeah.
Close and then do each one. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you.
I do
appreciate
have
it.
a question for Lisa, if I may.
Sure.
Sure, of course.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. And 50 years it's been 50 years since you've had that place, your parents and you and so forth. So that's great. But thank you so much for the culture and all the performances that you bring into Cape Ann and Rockport and Pigeon Cove, to be even more specific. But look forward to visiting there. And I certainly do, and I think other members of the board certainly support you. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Appreciate it.
Okay, no public comment on this. One more call. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the Emerson Inn. And who do we have here from the Emerson Inn tonight? I'm trying to scan through here.
Mr. Chair, you have Kimberly Volterro.
Oh, good. Okay, Kimberly, there she is right there. I see her. Okay, you're unmuted. Kimberly, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
So over at the Emerson Inn, it's business as usual. We are renovating, as one would do in the winter time, to get ready for another wonderful moment. We plan to have entertainment here again. We are trying to discourage weddings. And hopefully we will not have as many weddings as we had in previous years, but obviously it's such a beautiful place. Who can help but want to get married here? But we will definitely continue to do events with your permission, to be able to offer some music, especially outside on our veranda, ideally on a beautiful night like tonight with a full moon coming outside. Everybody loves that. It's becoming a more popular thing to gather at the Emerson Inn and enjoy some local music. Thanks to our friend Mari Martin and her friends, as well as other musicians who have really enjoyed playing here. We have respected the 10 p.m. cutoff and have been as silent as humanly possible. And we are sure all of our folks are outside on our lawn asking everybody to use their church voices after that time. As again, it's hard to resist being outside when we are in such a lovely location. But that is our goal, is to have continue to offer this as a beautiful backdrop for some events. We are promoting quite heavily afternoon activities, so as to respect the surrounding that we are inside of a neighborhood. And we have been very, very grateful for the support of our friends and neighbors. Especially our neighbors who have, I think last year I mentioned, offered a cup of sugar. This year I have them repairing rocking chairs and helping up with other things around the place. So far we've been, really, really grateful to live in such a wonderful community and to hopefully become an even more important part and a greater extension to the downtown community up here in Pigeon Cove, as my neighbor Lisa continues to offer some wonderful programs that encourage more people to enjoy our corner of our community.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you for that. We will open up to public comment again. Is there anybody who wishes to make a comment? Please raise your hand, use the hand raise function. Monty, I see Diana Welch has a comment. If you could unmute her, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Great. I'm sorry to be out of sequence. I had wanted to respond to Lisa Hahn, who knows who I am. I'm a butter of hers. And I just wanted to say that I do have a concern about off-site noise annoyance, and that it's specific to amplified music. And that I found that in the bylaws, there's very little in the bylaws about sound. It's pretty vague. And that there's no parameters on the special permitting about decibel levels of off-site sound. And I guess last season, and it sounds certainly more interesting to me this season for Lisa, there were so many Gloucester stage performances, and they were, they would run from 3:30 in the afternoon to 10 at night on weekends, and occasionally other times if they had a rain that they had to make up for. But the decibel levels at my home went from ambient around 38 or 9 or 40, with bursts up to 60 from, special effects or whatever in the amplification. So I guess what I'm really asking is that, specific to my situation, we have a interesting geography where there's hill and dale, and that we're in the hole where the sound moves around like in a teacup. And it can be affected by wind and weather and temperature and pressure and all those kinds of things. So I'm really asking to see if there's a way to monitor off-site noise and manage it somehow. So I'm just throwing that out as a comment from my perspective. And I really thank you for your time. And I really think that all these outdoor venues are wonderful, and the arts are one of my things that I enjoy in life. So it's not that I want to dismiss that, it's just I want to manage the amount of sound that comes at me.
And thank you for your comments. And I know, one of the things that we have stressed in the past and has really worked out well is an open line of communication with the applicants and the residents if there is a problem. You can always call over. I know that they will take your call if there's a problem, and they will address it immediately. We haven't had any problems, thank goodness. And we've checked with the police, and that we haven't had any issues. So I'm hoping that it all stays along those tracks. So you do have an avenue, and I would recommend in the interim that you contact Kimberly or Lisa and let them know, you can give them your information, they can give you theirs, and then you can have a nice dialogue. And these things can always be resolved amicably.
I respect your comments, and Lisa does know me, and we have had conversations. And I guess she has every right to do what she needs and wants to do, because there's no parameters on the actual use of amplified sound. And that's on the permit as well as in our bylaws. It's very vague. So she's doing what she assumes is right. So
we looked into trying to measure decibel levels.
Yeah.
And there's just really no way to do it effectively. We've gone through this with the police, and I apologize, and I don't want to bog it down. I just want to answer your question. I apologize for that. But I would again suggest that if you have an issue, if something comes up and it's too loud, call them. They'll work with you. They'll be good. They'll be good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Diana. We appreciate you being here tonight. Okay. Monty, can we go to John Kolachowski, please? John, you have the floor.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. First of all, I just want to mention that the Zoom meetings are very good. I enjoy them. Well, sometimes, but anyway, they're good, but I think in person it means a lot more. I know some people that would like to, they just don't want to get into the issues of Zooming and so forth. They don't feel comfortable in that arena or using them, and one of which is my neighbor. Okay.
John, if I may, just for 1 second, just so we have it for the record, and I apologize. I should have asked prior to. Name and address for the record, if you don't mind, please.
5 Phillips Avenue. Okay.
And just state your name, that's all.
John Kulikowski.
Perfect, thank you. I'm sorry, continue, John. I
No problem.
apologize.
Okay. Anyway, I'm just mentioning that because I think you lose some of the population, the voting population in Rockport with this continuation of the Zooming meetings. I don't have a good answer or a solution for that, but I'm just mentioning that I think you are losing a lot of the population, especially the older population that may not be that tech savvy to Zoom in and so forth. So I don't know how you're going to address that, but
John, if we could, let's deal with that after. If you want to bring that
Gotcha.
point up as public comment, yeah, I want to stay on track here.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that in because I'm speaking for my neighbor, Bill Robinson, as well. He's on Cathedral Avenue. I don't know the number, but he's on Cathedral Avenue.
Okay.
Anyway, I've been living here, I think, at least 20 years, okay? And the inn during that time did not have music playing, outside music or amplified music after 6 o'clock, as far as I know. I know recently there was a permit granted. I was not at the meeting. I didn't get a chance to speak, but my neighbor, Bill, also, he's the one who brought it up, that this fact, seems to be well aware of it, that there was an understanding that there was no music to be played after that hour. Now, I like the Emerson Inn. I've been to the Emerson Inn, and I don't like to cram people, but it is a problem for me, and I believe for a few neighbors, where the music seems to come right into the house. And let me explain. The inn itself essentially works as like a highway sound barrier wall. By that, I mean the inn itself blocks all the music towards the ocean and the neighbors on the left-hand side in particular, down Cathedral Avenue in particular. I've had to close my windows on a number of occasions with the music. Some of the music I like, so I leave the window open, but some of the music, I'm watching TV or I'm doing something else and I don't like the intrusion. I am in a residential zone and it is a problem. I just don't understand why the permit was granted when the policy was, at least my understanding, maybe you guys could correct me if there was no understanding. It seems funny for 20 years this didn't occur. I don't understand that, how that would be, but anyway, to grant this permission, and it's affecting my quality of life. I like music and all that. I'm not against music, but when I have to close my windows to watch this TV show or have a conversation, and even then sometimes it's difficult. I have to turn up the volume. I think it's an intrusion of my quality of life, and I have a problem with that. So I have an idea for a solution. I don't know if the inn would be open to it and involves capital investment, but the inn, being a longtime resident and across the street from the inn, really doesn't do much. You know, I'm maybe speaking out of term. I don't mean to, but they probably only do a fair business half the year. And I know it's a historic site and all that, but I would be an advocate if they could expand their dining areas large enough to accommodate more catering and so forth, and also housing the music. It would not take away from the view if they extended that out. I think it would be probably good capital investment. I'd actually be an advocate of it, but That way music could be played in the facility without affecting the neighbors and the residential area. Now, there may not have been complaints, but also that ties into somewhat the activity of the inn because of COVID. So there was times where I've been tempted to call and I let things go because I figured I'll last a little bit longer and I'll put up with a little bit. But if it's going to happen more frequently, obviously there's going to be more complaints. And I do think it's a problem. I think if any of you had your home where my home was, I think you would have a problem. In fact, I'm sure you would have a problem. So again, not only that, after, I think the Emerson Inn has probably tried to keep the people quiet after the concerts and so forth, because I think that's not been bad. But I know with weddings, sometimes, you know, you get people talking 2 o'clock in the morning and it sounds like they're in your living room. So, but again, the activity at the inn has been somewhat quieter because of COVID and the restrictions and so forth. But I know as the restrictions are lifted, it's going to get worse. So I have a problem with it. But like I said, why not allow, or if the inn is interested, why not help them or foster their allowance to expand their dining area, which would also serve as their music area. And they could have business, more likelihood of have business throughout the year, which may make economic sense to them. But I'm just throwing that out, okay? But that's my problem and I'm bringing it to your attention.
Thank you, John. We really appreciate the comments, and I know they're being heard, obviously, by the applicants. So I am sure they will heed. And again, I urge you to use those open lines of communication when you can with respect to them modifying their establishment. That's out of the purview of what we do. You know, that's something you would have to discuss with them.
I understand that, but I don't want to cause the inn problems, but I don't want the inn to cause me problems. I'm just suggesting a possibility that, you know, maybe I think at least the residents on the left side would be all for it, you know, and I think it could be economically sound for them as well. That's what I'm bringing up.
No, and it's appreciated. Thank you, John. You know, maybe you and Kimberly can have a conversation and talk about that. Is anybody else wish to speak on the Emerson's application? Steve D, if we could. Steve, name and address for the record, if you don't mind, please.
Stephen Dennehy on number 8 Green Street, 2 houses down from the Emerson Inn. And using the words from the previous speaker, certainly the music has not affected our quality of life. The previous owners, in fact, used to have bagpipes going. So we've had no noise issues. You find the music refreshing. And quite simply, I encourage you to support this application.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate that. Is there anybody else for public comment on the Emerson Inn application? Nope, hearing none. Let's go on to My Place by the Sea and look at their application. And my phone, can you guys hear me? My earphone cut out for a second. Okay, all right, good.
Mr. Chairman, are you gonna, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, it's okay.
Take comments from the board?
Of course. Of course, yes.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
not after. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to do them at the end. That way, this is the public comment session for the public hearing, so we'll do that first.
Good enough. Thank you.
Okay, and we will go to My Place by the Sea. That does not look like Bob or Kathy, so if you could, name and address for the record, please.
Nick Hafey. I'm representing My Place by the Sea, 68 Bearskin Neck.
Very good. Please tell us what you're looking for.
So today we're looking for our Hump Day license, as you know, our entertainment license for Hump Day. Hump Day is an important part of our community, I think. It brings a lot of people together, and a lot of people have been asking about it. waiting for the return. And I think COVID, staffing issues, everything like that, kind of putting a damper on things, not only here, but in the restaurant industry. We're looking for 5:30 to 10 o'clock as we did last year and in 2019. And it's a handful of days in the summer, and weather permitting, again, in 2019 when we had it, it was, I think, less days we had it than we didn't. But that's what we're looking for, 5:30, 10 o'clock. It's an important part of our community.
John, can I ask a question? I thought the last few years it was 9:30. Was it not?
That-
Was it 10?
It was 10 o'clock previously.
10? Okay, great.
Yeah, we increased it, I think 3 years ago, but it
Yeah.
used to be 9:30, but we went
Yeah.
to 10.
We'll get to that in a second when we get down into the weeds on this thing. So thank you for that. Was Sarah, is that all you had for that one? We're gonna come back to board.
Yeah, it was just a clarification. Thanks.
Okay, good, no problem. Are there any questions on My Place by the Sea? We do. We have, Crystal, if we could, unmute and just, Crystal, name and address for the record, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Crystal Leveal, 64 Bearskin Neck in Rockport. So I think to clarify, Sarah, I know that last year it was approved a ton, but they didn't have any events. So I guess I just kind of maybe wanted to go over 3 points that I thought would maybe convey our perspective. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Eric's out of town. Eric's out of town on work, so he's leaving it all in my hands.
There's only thousands of people listening. Don't worry about it.
Oh man, you're killing me. Get it. So yeah, so I think I just wanted to go over a few quick points that I think might just demonstrate a little bit of our perspective. Like normal, we're not against the event. I think just being a business right next door that's a hotel, you know, there have been issues in the past. We've had guests complain about noise. So I know they're asking to go till 10. Our preference would be 9. However, there have been compromises in the past at 9:30, like Sarah mentioned, and we'd wholeheartedly support that as well. I mean, obviously 9 would be our preference, but I think that, you know, cooperation is important, and we would really support a compromise at 9:30. I guess the second point that I did want to make, sorry, I have a few little things, is part of our responsibility as an innkeeper is to notify our guests if there is any form of maybe a disruptive event happening. And we do that, but we also take an opportunity to advertise the event to our guests, because our perspective is if our guests go to the event and attend it and like it, then it's less likely they'll complain about it. So one of the things that we would also ask is that My Place maybe gives us, or not necessarily us, but the town, a 2-week notice before their first event, because the license, I think in the past, has spanned June through September, through like end of August. But they don't often start it in June. And so if we're notifying guests for events that don't happen, you know, it's a little frustration on their end. We did have a town employee as well as Selectman Brackett reach out last year to find out when they would be starting, and they wouldn't tell them. So I guess we're just asking that, you know, just a 2-week notice before the first event, understanding that it's, you know, weather dependent, so that may change, but just so we can give adequate notice to our guests without, you know, advertising an event and then they get there and they're disappointed because it's not happening. Right. And then I guess the third point that I kind of wanted to make is I had reached out to the Emerson because last year they had discussed using noise reducing or noise canceling speakers. And so I did reach out to see, you know, how that worked. And they said they had, I think, if she wants to comment, because I certainly don't want to talk for her, but I think they were using them indoors and they actually, you know, it did help mitigate noise. So I think one of the things that I was just taking from the Emerson's proposal is that they really do want to be respectful of the neighbors, and they do want to work with the neighbors. And so one thing I was hoping is, you know, this isn't a new event. This is kind of a long established event that's been going on for a few years now. And I think one point I'd like to bring up is at what point are they going to be required for outdoor amplified music to take maybe noise reducing measures, whether it's noise reducing speakers or noise canceling speakers? I know that at the Emerson Inn, they hired a DJ that had those, or investing in them, or just investing in some form of a noise reduction that would just maybe lessen the impact on the neighborhood. Because again, we're not looking to stop the event. I think we're just looking to find a compromise so that, you know, our guests aren't disturbed, but they can still have it. And, you know, I think one thing, you know, we talked about last year is open communication hasn't been an option, not on our end, but it hasn't been an option in the past. So I guess the only other question I would have is if there were issues, do we call the police and notify the selectmen? What's the process? Because we don't have the option of reaching out directly, because anytime we have, it's been ignored. So I think that's it. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for your comments, Crystal. You know, I urge, you know, abutters and owners to work collaboratively to find solutions to what really should be easy issues. And I hope that stays there. So if there's a problem with communication, I would urge you to try again. And if not, and we do have problems, then we can, you know, you always have the option. I hate to say this, but you always have the option to call the police. And that's fine.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. And I would like to say, like, that's the last thing we want to do. But I would like to say we did reach out to the town before COVID started, and we asked to have a sit down so we can kind of mediate. And we showed up with the police chief and Mitch, and they did not.
It's been quite honestly a bit refreshing, I will say, even in light of your comments right now, that, you know, when you first came before us, you were opposed to this. You didn't want it. And now we've gotten to a place where we can work together on this. And I think that's what you're looking for. And I would hope that my place will heed that, and they will work with you to make sure that your guests have an enjoyable stay while they're there.
Yeah, and I think the only other thing we would ask is, just like in the past, the license has been reflected to show the dates and the times, is perhaps some of the information I brought up today, like, you know, the notification and perhaps actually investing in some form of a noise reducing measure may be, you know, considered as a part of the license. And that's all, I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Crystal. We appreciate it. Monty, if you could unmute Toby, please.
Thank you. Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. Last year, thanks to the Wuhan flu, there were no rackets. And with the year before, it was definitely better than the year before that, although sometimes still offensive. And anything that carries a mile across the water, I live a mile across the water in a house with granite walls 2 feet thick. And if you can hear it thumping away in a house with granite walls 2 feet thick and the windows closed, there's something wrong with it. And I would remind your board that when you're licensing the itinerant musicians, the ones who come with simple instruments but generally no amplification at all, you're always, and I'm thinking particularly of Sarah Wilkinson, reminding them that it's the people who come to hear them who should hear them and not everyone else. And so it seems to me that it's a wildly different standard when you've got an amplification system that will take you a mile across the water. Now, I'm not asking you to deny them their license, but I hear you saying that people should call up the applicants and treat directly with them. And I don't feel that that is reasonable or appropriate. That puts whoever calls them in the position of either begging for favors or, in a manner of speaking, threatening them. And you don't want to be in a position to do either. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with calling the police. You'll be the first person to say, Mr. Chairman, that the police aren't ogres. They're not going to pick up anybody by the scruff of the neck or make them feel miserable. They might be able to call people to account, causing no offense if there is reason to do so. And I think people should be encouraged, if they're aggrieved, to call the police. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I would respectfully disagree, Toby, and say that for them to call, would be neighborly. It wouldn't be burdensome. So I will leave it with that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, when you
Please.
call the police, and again, this is not like to get people in trouble, it sets a record. So when we have a situation where, maybe there's a problem with the police were called on, it's on the police blotter, and it sets a record. So it's not to get people in trouble, but it also sets a record.
I agree. And it was, Paul, good point, because it was the same thing for the train station. If people had a problem with trains idling, they were encouraged to call the police. So a record could be kept and we could go back and have some historical data to look at. So you have a good point, Paul. Monty, if you could unmute Ken Novak, I see you waving. I will get to you, I promise. If you could unmute Luz Corona. Luz, name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Luz. Good evening, everybody. My name is Luz Corona. I have a business in 33 Berskine, and I definitely support My Place by the Sea, because when people come out of listen to some music and after having such a great time, which we need more and more in this community, because we kind of like need happiness in these times, right? Well, my business goes much better because people come out of that, of having so much fun, and they give me business. So I think that this supports either the merchants in the neck too. So I definitely support it. And we have to be a little flexible about noise, yes. And people have to understand that, the noise is it's controllable. It's not going to be until 12 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night. So I support My Place. It's a very incredible place to be and have fun. And we all are looking forward. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Luz. Thanks for being here tonight. Monty, if we could go to Ken Novak, please. Ken, you're unmuted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to pick up where Luz ended, which is that we could all use a little more fun in our lives. And to me, My Place epitomizes fun in Rockport. They only have their hump night one night a week, and sometimes they don't have it at all. And so I think that it's the kind of thing that we should embrace for the town. With all due respect to my friend Toby, my wife Marianne and I live at 3 West Wharf Road, and we are right on Granite Pier, and we spend most summer evenings at home on our deck. And I can tell you that I wish that I could hear the music from My Place more than I do. I rarely hear it, and when I do, it uplifts my spirit. So I would encourage everybody to embrace this idea that we can have fun and we can do it in a way that's responsible. I think the chairman made a really important point, which is that all of these locations want to have good relations with their neighbors. And despite what has been said, I would encourage you, if you have any problem with My Place, get in touch with them. Kathy and Barb are really good citizens of the town. They're generous and considerate, and I know that they will work with you. So I think that it's a very mellow experience and one that I think that we should embrace rather than oppose. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ken,
Thank you,
can
Mr.
give your
Novak.
Name and address of the record.
I'm sorry, 3 West Wharf Road, Rockport.
Very good. Thanks, Ken. We appreciate it. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on the My Place application? Monty, can you unmute Peter Weber, please? Thank you so much. Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought I had the raised hand up and then it just disappeared. And I apologize for not being here to speak for the earlier applicants. I support all of them. I'm Peter Weber, 83 High Street in Rockport, for the record. With respect to the My Place application, I agree with several of the speakers. It's a wonderful addition to the community life in our community. And I just hope that you will approve it again. With respect to the communications and good neighborliness, if there's any way that I'd like to offer my assistance, if I can be of help in facilitating communications on any of these as needed, but I think as suggested, the ideal way to go is directly with Barbara and Kathy, and if I can help facilitate renewed dialogue there, happy to do it. And just one last point about the sound, outdoor music at the edge of the water is going to sometimes carry across the water if the wind's going in the right direction, and sometimes it'll go in the other direction and bring some enjoyment or displeasure, depending on the point of view of the listener, on that edge of the water, across in that direction. But it really is a wonderful midweek event in season that helps add to the joy of living in Rockport, in my opinion. So thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Peter. We appreciate your comments. Thanks for being here tonight. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this application? I don't see anybody. So with that, is there a motion to close the public hearings?
You have a hand up, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that. John Porter, please unmute him, Marty. Name and address for the record, please.
Oh, no.
What happened?
I froze.
Uh-oh. Oh, there you go. I think we're good now.
All right, John Porter, 2 Meadow Road, Rockport. I did push my button a little late, I'm sorry. But
It's okay.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this meeting. I've been a supporter of them for a very long time. I would love to see it continue. I think Rockport needs this. I think Rockport wants this. And I hope we can continue with it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Just a point of it, was Mr. Porter supporting My Place by the Sea or the other applicants, or just My Place by the Sea?
I only came in for My Place, but I
Thank you.
certainly over the Emerson, and I would certainly support that also.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. That's great. Okay, last call for public comment. Want to make sure I don't miss anybody. I think we're good. Okay. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I do, Mr. Chair. I move that the Board of Selectmen close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Selectman Brackett.
Excuse me, but
Yep. Go ahead, Herm.
yeah, I do. Well, are you entertaining further discussion with regard to some of the points that have been raised?
Yeah, no, of course. I just want to close the public hearing and then we're going to go to board
Then
discussion.
the selectmen will be able to.
Yeah,
discuss
we're
after
gonna open up our comment period next.
Good.
Yep, no problem. Selectman Brackett.
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
Selectman Lilia.
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. The public hearing is now closed. Okay, now we will open it up to comments from the board. Selectman Murphy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great presentations by all the individuals that came, businesses that came before us. And I've been to all of those establishments during the summer and various other points of the year. And I think I would encourage the board let's do a uniform 5 to 10. 10 would be the latest for all three people that are seeking these entertainment licenses. We live in a tourist community in the summer, not all the time, it's not 12 months out of the year, but from June until at least Labor Day, it's hopping in here, and it's nice to hear the music. And I don't think 10 o'clock is an outrageous time for music to be stopped or to be ceased. But I strongly support all of this. I think it's good for the community. I think it brings a lot of people into the community, and more importantly, a lot of people that reside here in Rockport enjoy going to these places. So I am a full support of all of them, but I also I think at 10 o'clock should be consistent across the board.
Thank you. Any other comments? Herm, go ahead.
Sure. I agree that the music is an important aspect of summer in Rockport. Standardizing the endpoint is important, whether it is 10 or whether it's 9:30 is up for debate. I do think that we need to standardize the process for a complaint, whether that is only to put in writing that the first step is in fact for the person with the complaint to call the establishment from which the sound is emanating. But I think we need to put something down on paper. I also think that we ought to try with regard to a max sound level. I do think that I can't believe that there isn't some way, although you've commented, the chair has commented, said that past efforts have failed. I thought would still be that there is a way of monitoring it and trying to come up with a max sound level. And if there's any benefit in sound reducing speakers outside, then sound reducing speakers, probably sound directional speakers, should be used outside. So that we try to minimize the possibility of complaints. But that all ought to be down on paper, not necessarily before we vote, but it ought to be something that we set our minds to and do for the town.
Good comments. Thank you. Maybe we can look at a board policy of some sort going forward, but right now we have what we have, but thank you. We'll bring that up again. Any other comments from the board? Ross?
I was just gonna, suggest to the board that we do the Emerson at 9:30. I'm not sure how anyone else would feel about that, only because of the neighborhood it's in. It's up for debate. I'm just throwing it out there as a suggestion.
Well, you also still have neighbors and on Bearskin Neck as well.
It's a business district is how I see it, though.
But you still have people sleeping and so forth, not strictly business. Not
I know,
to
but it's in the
disagree,
business district how I see it.
well, but you also have people that are living there too, so.
Herm?
Are we agreeing that it will be one time for all of these establishments?
Okay, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, I think each one is a separate license, so I don't think it's appropriate to have a standard across the board. I think coincidentally, I think they've all applied for 10 o'clock. So I think that that's fine, but I think it's also coincidental that they're all here on the same evening, because typically there could be just one or two of them. But I think that each establishment has to be treated like its own establishment. Obviously, different neighborhoods. I'm fine with 10 o'clock fine with 10 o'clock for all of them. I mean, I think things are going to be different coming out of COVID. I agree with lots of the speakers that people are ready to have fun and dance, but on the other coin, several people have told me, that businesses and restaurants, some are closing earlier, people aren't staying out as late. So honestly, it's going to be one of those things we're just going to have to see how it goes. The concern, Herm, I love the idea of standardizing kind of feedback from residents or complaints. The issue is I'm not comfortable telling someone that they have to call an establishment. If someone's only comfortable to call the police, I would never want to tell someone that they couldn't do that. But I always say to people, listen, if it's possible, I would love for you to call the establishment. I know, everyone here is open to working with people, and I hope that continues or even improves. But I'm fine with the 10 o'clock, and then, and then obviously their licenses, and they can be revoked or amended at any time by the board.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Any other comment?
Rockport open again. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no,
I'm excited. I'm excited to see, because I know coming out of COVID, there are some organizations, restaurants, businesses that didn't make it. And frankly, to hear the expansion of programming at Windover is exciting. To see people tonight on Zoom to cheer for Hump Day is awesome. Kimberly, I actually, I worked at the Emerson in college, and I think you're right, kind of veering away from weddings would be more appropriate for the neighborhood if in the long run you guys could do that more. But honestly, cheers and best of luck to you guys for still being here after 2 tough years.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, last call for questions from, yep, Herm, go ahead.
I just, one
Well,
thing.
hang
that I
on,
just-
hang on,
Oh,
Paul,
I'm
one second.
sorry, I'm sorry.
I
Excuse me.
recognize Herm first. Go ahead, Herm.
Sure.
I would disagree, Sarah. I think that regardless of when applicants come before us, they should be subject to the same kind of assessment and evaluation. This is noise we're talking about. These are neighborhoods. It's all the same in that regard. So therefore, I do think that we have to use the same, if we settle 10 o'clock tonight or 9:30, that's it for the rest of the summer. You want to change it next year? That's fine. But I think we have to do the same thing for everybody or towards every establishment. Thank you.
Thanks, Herm. Paul, go ahead.
One last thing, and before I think we're going to close this and vote. I remember growing up in the early 80s in Rockport, the yacht club used to have these great dances that I and all my pals used to attend. And there were rock bands that would be playing till 11 o'clock. And you could hear it all over the place. You know, my parents were up on Pleasant Street and they could hear it, but it wasn't, it wasn't the end of the world, 11 o'clock. We're talking 10 o'clock now. And we're talking in a commercial place and commercial businesses that have a small window. And I think we need to support all of these applications today. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Okay, well, we have each one. So, we have an issue here with time. So, Herm, go ahead.
Should we not make a motion to set the endpoint for all of these?
That's what I'm doing right now, buddy.
No, I don't mean for each one. In other words.
Let me phrase this and see if this satisfies what you're saying. Give me 1 second and I'll do that.
Right.
Okay, so obviously we have some discussion on which way the time frame should go. Whether it should be across the board for everybody or establishment specific. For me, I'm of the mindset to just say it should be equal for everybody across the board, unless one of the establishments want to say, I'm just throwing this out. Say if we said 10 o'clock and Windover or Emerson or anybody else said well, you know what, we only need till 9:30, then they can amend their application and we can change that. So I guess let's talk about real quick before we take the vote on each one. How would you like to resolve the issue of time? And I'm listening. So whatever you guys think.
Well, I think maybe my point earlier was misunderstood. Each license is voted on individually. So the time is in each license.
Right. And they're all at 10 p.m.
They're all at 10 p.m. So I think in this case, it takes care of the issue, takes care of itself. I think if we wanted to look at giving like a blanket time to establishments, that's a different vote. That's not on the agenda tonight. Mitch can confirm that, or if I'm mistaken.
But if we had the standard time, the only thing they would have to come for a revision for is if they wanted to extend the time. They always have the option of decreasing the time without any notification to us. But if anybody wanted a longer term, they would have to come to us for that.
Well, they have to come to us no matter what annually.
No, I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying on a license, if we say we standardized it at 10 p.m., if Windover decides, yeah, we're done at 9:30, well, then they can do that. I mean, but they have the latitude and the flexibility to go till 10 should need be.
Right. Got it.
So they could revise their application at the onset and then go from there. So anyway, Ross?
Just so we do clear, if we do set any times in these, the Windover has 9 o'clock as their stop sign time. So we just have to, she did say 10 in the meeting. So I just want to make sure that's clear, that we don't just approve her as written application, because it does say 7 to 9 opposed to 10.
Okay, I don't have the packet up in front of me. That 10. I see Lisa.
Yeah.
You're saying 10, Lisa?
She said 10 in
9,
person.
4, 5.
We're throwing signals out here. Mitch, are we able to amend that here for them without her submitting a new application? I just want
Yes,
to do
Mr.
this the
Chair.
right way.
You are, Mr. Chair, so it is the board's prerogative to determine what the start and stop times are.
Okay.
So you're able to simply decide.
Okay, just wanted to make sure of that. That's fine. Okay, so with respect
Mr. Chair,
to time, Ross, yeah,
I
Ross,
just want to
please.
speak on the standardizing of times. I think that's a bad idea because every business is different. Each one should be treated as how they run their business. For instance, Again, Wendover has 3 to 5 as a possible time too. If you go 5 to 10, well, then she can't have the 3 o'clock one. It's based on the businesses, and I don't think it should be a standardized time.
How about if we say up to a certain hour?
Well, that's the point, and I think that's where it really comes in, is that we're not talking about a start time, really. I mean, unless we're talking about early morning hours, which nobody's
Good point.
doing. I think the real point is the ceiling on this thing. That's what we should be looking at.
Yep, good point.
I'm sorry, Herm, please.
Yeah, and that's the point that I was making before, that there ought to be a fixed endpoint for all the establishments. It can't be on a case-by-case basis. If we can pick a max, I don't care. You can pick 12 hours at 12 o'clock as the max, but you have to pick a max. Everything else falls under it. So 10 o'clock is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. And again, the discrepancy would only be if they came down, and if they use less time, then I think everybody's even happier. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to, how do we want to approach this then? Do we want to just insert that into each of the motions and then do it that way?
Are we talking about standardizing a time?
About making 10
Well,
PM the
then
cutoff?
I would suggest 11:30 is the 11:30 is the cutoff for alcohol sales as well.
For what?
No,
For
this is
alcohol
entertainment.
sales. I know, but I'm just saying, we have that cutoff. As sometimes they have events that are also inside, for instance, the Emerson Inn, and then they also have outside too. So I'm just saying, if we're going to standardize the cutoff, that's my suggestion. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let's be clear on this. We're not standardizing everything overall for going forward. All we're doing right now is talking about these particular establishments and the times they've asked for. That's it. We can have another discussion, and I'd be happy to put it on an agenda to discuss, the times and all that. But for right now, we're just talking about these applications. I want to make sure we stay focused.
And there's nothing to do with alcohol at this point, correct?
No, this has
This is
nothing to
just
do with alcohol.
entertainment licenses.
That's it. We're not speaking of alcohol tonight because that's not relevant to our conversation.
Yep, just entertainment and cut off at 10 PM.
Right. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
So again, I submit, do we want to do this on each individual Wendover, Emerson, and my place? Or how do we want to approach this?
So, Mr.
Would that
Chair,
be the easiest way?
you do need to take them one at a time as they are in front of you this evening.
No, I understand that. I'm going to do that. What I'm saying is insert the time on each one of these. So that's clearly spelled out, because all we've done was
I
discuss
don't
it. We
think we
haven't
should do
voted.
this, Mr. Chair, because now why don't we get into the dates too? When's the start date? When's the end date?
Oh,
for the exact thing?
we always have time.
I understand that, but
And
I'm just, if we're gonna get included in the motions, I just think we should go up per application with the exception to Wendover. We put in the 9 o'clock cutoff because our application states, put in the 10 o'clock cutoff because the application states 10. And if we want to have the discussion about times at another date, that's great.
Well, if all of the other applications already state 10, the other two, then the only one we would have to amend would be Wendover. So we'd only have to make the revised motion on that one.
Yep.
Is that good with everybody?
Well, shouldn't they be allowed to have that 10 o'clock cutoff? They don't have
No,
to
we-
use it, of course.
No, we're going to do that. That's the point, is that
Okay,
the other
okay.
two applications already include 10 o'clock. The Wendover application states 9 PM, but we're going to amend it for 10 PM.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Thank you.
Right. I see, Lisa, I don't want to confuse this, but you said you want 9 or 10?
10.
10, she's saying 10
10.
o'clock.
Okay,
She's saying
that's
10
it.
o'clock.
All right, I got it, because I couldn't count all the fingers there, so that's okay. That's what we're doing, so we're fine with that. You're good. I got you. All right, let's start out with the first one. Let's take it right out of the gate. It's the first one. Is there a motion on Wendover?
Yes, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve Wendover's application for an entertainment license to allow outdoor music on premises and an outdoor public address system subject to any requirements by the Board of Health or its inspector with a closing time of 10 PM to expire on December 31st, 2022.
Very good.
I'll
Is
second
there a
that.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion on this one? Hearing none, roll call vote. Selectman Brackett.
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
Selectman Lilia.
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. You're all set, Lisa. Thank you. There you go. Is there a motion for the Emerson Inn, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the Emerson Inn's application for an entertainment license to allow outdoor music on premises and an outdoor address system, subject to any requirements from the Board of Health or its inspector, to expire on December 31st, 2022.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion here? Hearing none, roll call vote. Selectman Brackett.
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
Selectman Lilia.
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you for that. Is there a motion for My Place by the Sea?
There is. I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the My Place by the Sea application for an entertainment license to allow outdoor music on premise and an outdoor public address system, subject to any requirements from the Board of Health or its inspector, to expire on December 31st, 2022.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion here? Hearing none. Roll.
I had one for this.
Yeah, please, Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, since it's something that the neighbor requested, I think if they give a 2-week notice, just of when they're going to have their first event, just so they can let their guests know, I think that would be great.
Do we still have him on board here? Where is he?
I don't know.
Did
Are we
did
gonna
they
have an
leave?
amendment to the motion?
If we could just,
Yes, yes,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There you are. Did you heard what Sarah said?
I did, yes.
Okay, and you're fine with that, correct?
Yeah, so if they can just give notice to the neighbor and copy the town on it, Mitch, does that sound okay?
yeah, so just, yeah, exactly. I just want to be sure that we're clear. So notice should go to the abutters and a copy to the selectman's office.
Just with a
2 weeks,
right.
2-week heads up on the first event, just so they can let people know. Great.
Right.
Thanks. so much.
Just not to be a pain in the neck, but are we going to do that with other establishments as well?
Nope, just that one, because the neighbor asked for it specifically.
Do we need to be consistent with the other places?
It's not us being consistent. It's the people asking for these accommodations. If somebody asks for an accommodation from Windover or the Emerson, we would obviously take that into consideration. But I don't see this as consistency. I see this as granting a request that My Place has agreed to, and that the Crystal is good with too.
Yeah, no, I'm all for it, but maybe we should require the other people when they have outdoor entertainment to notify their abutters as well.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying, but maybe we look at that as being part of an overall new policy that we craft and go through this. So we'll go from there. Herm, go ahead.
That's my words exactly, that we're going to craft a new policy. It should be included in that policy.
Yeah, I think that's a great off-season, that with the steps for, complaint, abutter feedback is a good off-season thing for us for a workshop.
Right, and to add to that, I would encourage all the establishments to use the owners, or if there is not an owner, the highest ranking manager there, to be the one to correspond with these folks. So please, give them the consideration they're trying to give to you folks. That's great. Okay, have we read this motion? I'm sorry, we did, right, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, was there a second?
Are we gonna amend the motion to require that requirement, or is it not needed, Mitch?
I think Sarah's included that in already.
I didn't do it as an amendment. I think we've just asked them to do it and they agreed. I think it should be fine.
Okay.
Mitch, would you prefer us to amend it?
So you can do it either way. It just enforceability wise, we would need to have it in the motion. But if there's an agreement, if everybody's comfortable, you could also just leave it like that.
Okay.
Sarah, I'll leave it up to you. You're the one that wanted to bring this in. So what do you think?
Why don't I just amend the motion since we haven't voted on it? Okay.
Okay. Yep.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the My Place by the Sea application for an entertainment license to allow for outdoor music on premise in an outdoor public address system, subject to any requirements from the Board of Health or its inspector, to expire on December 31st, 2022. In addition, My Place by the Sea will give 2 weeks notice via email to the town and direct abutters for their first event, in advance of their first event. that good, Mitch?
Okay, okay, please don't second that yet. Because we did have the first motion made and seconded, so it is on the floor. So we'd have to close the first motion out. Mitch, am I correct on the form on this? I just want to make sure because we did have a second.
Why didn't you just amend the motion?
So you just need to amend that first motion that you've already made and seconded, Sarah. So
Okay,
just add
so-
that
so-
amendment into it.
Great. So I'd like to just
Okay.
add that amendment into my first motion.
Okay, very good. So now we have a clean motion. That's fine. And now we will entertain a second, please.
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded.
Are we
Further
seconding for
discussion?
the amendment?
We're
With the
just
amendment.
seconding for the amendment, just for the amendment now.
just for the
to amend
amendment?
Main motion.
Just to amend. Okay, everybody clear on that? Okay, further discussion on the amendment.
I don't think there should be any requirements of that sorts from the business, especially, I understand that it was made from requests, but it also wasn't, we didn't discuss that in the open hearing, so the other abutters of the other businesses didn't know that that was a possibility of requirement, so they could have also asked for this requirement at that time. And now the public hearing's closed and the other abutters didn't know about that one, that we entertained that requirement from the other.
Well, I don't want to make this complicated. I mean,
I know that's
I
why
get
don't
what you're
agree with the
saying.
Amendment, that's all. That's all,
Well-
you asked for discussion.
No,
that's what
no.
I'm giving you.
No, that's okay, and I'm glad you did. Well, I think we have what we have. If somebody would like to amend that I'm not even sure how to handle this right now. It's getting a bit
So,
confusing.
Mr. Chair, I would suggest that perhaps, so you've got an amendment on the floor. Right now, I would suggest perhaps that if there's no other discussion, that the board simply vote on it so that gets you back to your main motion, amended or
Okay.
not. So I would suggest that you vote up or down on the amendment.
Okay, well, let's do that then. Let's clear this out first. Is there we have a motion that's been seconded, further discussion on the amendment?
Can you repeat it just to make sure everyone's clear?
Sure, of course. Sarah, please.
Yeah, it was just to require My Place by the Sea to give email notice, 2-week heads up email notice to the direct abutters and the town of their first event.
Okay, Paul, are you good with that?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions? One more time. That's it. Hearing none. Roll call vote. Selectman Brackett.
Nay.
Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Nay.
Selectman Lilia.
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. So we have a 3-2 defeat of the motion, if I have that correct. The motion does,
Why do you say defeat?
because there were three nay votes. Weren't there three nay?
Voting in favor of the amendment.
We're voting. Are there three
in favor
ayes?
of the amendment.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had that backwards. I apologize. So 3-2 motion carries. My apologies.
Yes.
All right, so that's good. Now we're going back to the original motion, and we will vote on that.
So,
Is there-
Mr. Chair, if I could just, for the record, for everybody, if I could just read the amended motion for the board to consider, so that we have it
Please.
correct for the record.
Please,
Mr.
thank
Chair,
you.
The proper motion would be, as amended, move that the Board of Selectmen approve My Place by the Sea's application for an entertainment license to allow outdoor music on premises in an outdoor public address system, subject to any requirements from the Board of Health or its inspector, to expire December 31st, 2022, and further that notice be provided to the direct abutters and the town 2 weeks prior to the first event.
Okay, is everybody clear on that? That's the amendment that was added into the motion. Now we're voting on the entire motion. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns on
Just
that?
for the record, I am in favor of the event when the vote comes, just so you know.
Okay, very good. I get it. Your
I'm
opposition
sorry,
is to the motion. Go
I
ahead,
didn't
Paul.
hear Ross, you cut out. I'm sorry.
I
What
am
did
in
you say?
favor of hump day happening when the vote, just so the record states when the vote comes.
Okay, we good? Very good. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Selectman Brackett,
Nay.
Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye. So wait, Ross, but you, oh.
I just
okay.
don't agree with the private, that's all. So I don't agree
Yeah.
with the motion as written.
Yeah.
Yep. Hang on, Paul. For discussions, no, we're just going on the vote right
Yeah, fine.
now. Sarah,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Nay.
Selectman Lilia,
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion this time carries 3-2. Understanding the dissent is not based upon the
Well,
holding of the event.
In all fairness, the dissent, they voted against it. So the dissent is the
I
dissent.
understand, but everybody's intention should be known. We owe that to the people that have elected us. So there we go. So that's good. So that carries, and we are all set. And again, we will entertain. We can work together to try to craft a policy for this. If anybody wants to put something together, and we can kind of start working on that, that would be great. And we can go from there. That way you guys will be all set for next year. Okay, good. And I think that clears everything up on the entertainment licenses. We're going to move on to the appointment interviews, which is Kerry O'Donnell of the Beautification Committee, who has waited so patiently here. So Kerry, thank you for that. And Monty, if you could unmute Kerry, and Kerry could tell us a little bit about herself and her desire to join the Beautification Committee.
Hi, John. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I moved back to Rockport. I grew up here, but I've been away for a long time and came back about 5 years ago, joined the garden club and really enjoyed the opportunity to help to beautify Rockport. I'm currently the chair of town gardens, and we have 13 gardens throughout the town that we plant and take care of. And I know that the beautification committee does a beautiful job throughout Rockport with their properties or their areas that they tend. And I just want to help out. So to that end, I've been talking with Stephanie Wolf, who is the chair. And last year she assigned me the garden at Star Island Park, which is on Atlantic Avenue. It's a lovely little park that has a big granite bench where people sit and watch the yacht club in the harbor, and it basically had no garden. So we planted a very nice perennial garden, which was very pretty this past summer and hopefully will continue to bloom. And so now I'd like to be an official member of beautification. I guess that's all I have to say. I don't know.
No, that's great. And we so appreciate you stepping up. And I will tell you that if I'm not mistaken, way back when, my grandmother-in-law, Eleanor Coltajohn, actually started that whole thing down at Star Island. So it's good. It's good to see it's going to be in good hands going forward. So thank you for that. That's great. Thank you. Questions from the board for Kerry?
Nope. Just thank you, Kerry, for willing to serve on this wonderful committee, and we appreciate your willingness.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. Thank you so much. I know I say it every time it comes up, but with the dinghies downtown, with for fall and now the holiday, it's like it literally like brings tears to my eyes when I drive by and see people like posing. I saw people doing their Christmas photos in front of them, and you guys have like literally taken it to another level. That doesn't even include all the other amazing stuff you do around town, but it's just like creativity, and you guys were so incredibly helpful with the planters that we, the round planters that we got with the grant money. And I'm a junior amateur gardener, and I like look to your stuff to give me ideas.
Yeah. I'm a junior amateur sailor, so.
But I can't thank you guys all enough. And so thanks, keep up the awesome work.
Well, as far as an amateur gardener goes, listen, if you see me coming down the street, put orange cones out and keep me away, because I couldn't make anything grow. So I'll leave that to the professionals. So that's a good thing. Okay, any other questions for Kerry? Nope, hearing none. Is there a motion?
I do, Mr. Chair. I move that the board appoint Kerry O'Donnell as a member of the Beautification Committee for a term to expire June 30th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Selectman Brackett,
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lilia,
All right.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. Welcome. We're very, very happy to have you. Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you very much. Good night.
All
all.
right. Thank you. Good night now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may interrupt for one moment.
Yeah, please go right ahead.
As we are kind of being very technical tonight, I just want to be clear that we did approve my place's application without specific days in mind. It does allow for any day to have an operation of the 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock cutoff. So I don't know if they want to,
Wait, didn't the application say hump day on
it
it?
says proposed hours is, doesn't say anything about days. It just says sometime to 10. I'm just trying to be, because we're getting so technical.
So-
I'm not sure. I didn't see Wednesday, but I could have missed it.
Hold on, I'll pull it up and look. Thanks for,
No, it does not say Wednesday. You're right.
So I don't know if we want to have them reapply on an application with a possible start date. That doesn't have to be the notice of the official date, but the first date that could possibly be allowed by us. Mitch, you want to say something?
I'm just pulling this up myself
Yeah,
right now.
I'm trying to find it in front of me.
I think it starts on page 20 of the packet.
Under D.
Yeah, I got it right here. Capacity, hours of operation. Proposed hours of entertainment only says 5 to 10 with no specific day on there, unless it's somewhere else that I can't see. Would you folks agree with that?
And then I'll bring up the more confusion is that. for
I don't
these,
have 5 to 10.
What do you have?
I have nothing. I said, I have
Go-
just a motion.
Paul, go to page,
Oh, no,
go to page 23 on your packet.
Packet.
Oh, it's up. Okay, there we go.
yeah, sorry, I was going off of that he said they were applying for hump day again. I didn't look close. So we have to,
Just at another meeting.
because the application doesn't say hump day on it.
So their license would be for any day. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, so
Yep.
we have to.
That is correct. So it'll need to be renoticed on another meeting if you wish to correct it. Otherwise, it's all days as indicated here.
That's fine, Mitch. Can you reach out to them? Would that be appropriate? And then we can go from there?
So do you want, just to be clear, does the board want to alter it and limit it just to Wednesday?
Well, I think that was the intent of what they wanted, correct? I
It
don't want to
was, but
speak for them.
Well, and that's why I'm asking now, because you've issued it already.
I'd ask you to at least
So-
reach out to them and ask them if they would reapply. If not, I would stand by that motion, as all the other businesses we've approved tonight are allowed to operate any day as well.
I'm not okay with it. 100% not okay with it. I think for years it's
Okay.
a neck thing and it's hump, like they literally.
Always a
he
Wednesday. It's
said
always
in
a
I
there,
Wednesday.
understand that. I'm
hump
just,
day,
you know,
Yeah, yeah, I
I
don't,
don't like, restrictions, so.
Herm?
Does not our public discussion and their statement in public in a formal record link them to hump day? That is what they were asking for. That is effectively what we were voting on, despite the
Yeah,
fact it doesn't
we
say
voted on the
Wednesday and it
application.
doesn't say hump day. But just the fact that the representative of that organization, if he's an official representative of that organization, said he wanted something and we gave it to him based on what he said.
We approved
Regardless of the
application.
motion?
No, I'm asking Mitch. I'm not asking anyone else.
Okay.
So the motion that was read and approved as amended after that does not indicate specifically hump day or a
Okay,
day
but
of the week.
That isn't really my point. My point is, if somebody says something in public.
The
makes a
discussion
request-
is not enforceable.
Okay,
good question, Herm. That's kind of what I
The
meant.
discussion is not enforceable.
Yeah, so I think we need to, honestly, I think we need to redo the hearing at our next meeting. Renotice it and redo the hearing.
Because they haven't looked for anything in the past, but let's do that. And I don't want to get bogged down in this. So let's take it for what it is. We've approved what we've approved. We can fix it if there's a problem, and it's the beauty of voting again. It's not a problem. So we'll
And
take it on.
We're in
again.
February. We're in February too, so.
Right, we have plenty of time, but not that we're going to delay it. We'll put it on for the next meeting and we'll go from
Absolutely,
there
yep.
and we'll clear it all up. Everybody okay with that?
Yes, sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, for causing the
No,
disruption.
don't ever apologize for speaking your mind, Ross. I think it's absolutely fine. So that's great. Okay, let's move on to the Designer Selection Committee, letter F, number F, number 1. And we have Monica here from that. If we get started, I have to run out just for 1 second. Ross, I'm going to turn it over to you, but I'll be right back if that's okay. If you could take it, I'll be back in just real quick. And if we have a lot of stuff to cover here, so if we could just keep it brief, that would be great. I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Monica. The floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure how much you'd like me to go into, but I'd like to just very briefly give a little bit of a background and allow time for questions, because I think that would be most fruitful. The Designer Selection Committee is a committee established by the Board of the Selectmen, basically to move forward with 2 projects, the Pigeon Cove Fire Station and the old Firehouse building in Dock Square. And both of these projects have been in the works for a long time. The last time we came before the selectmen was probably about 3 years ago in 2019, when the Building Study Committee suggested that the town keep the old firehouse and restore it for use by the community and the residents as a gathering place for events, community activities, in a location that is really very special and unlike any other facility in town. We, in 2020, were able to get some money from CPC to do a preliminary study of the old firehouse. And the study showed that, yes, it needs some work, but it's a solid building and well worth preserving. So we moved forward with the support of the selectmen and town meeting. The Building Study Committee and the Rockport Cultural District together secured $54,000 in grants from the Community Preservation Fund and from the Massachusetts Cultural Council to do a more in-depth feasibility study and a preliminary design for the old firehouse. And at the same time, we urged going forward with the work on the Pigeon Cove Fire Station, which had been in limbo because the town was unable to find a design firm. So we decided we have 2 firehouses and we need designers for both. So we combined them into one request for proposals early in 2021. And we were very fortunate that the strategy worked. And we had, I think, about 7 firms respond with interest in either one or both of those projects. The Designer Selection Committee was set up in the spring specifically to look at those responses and choose the firm that we felt was most advantageous for the projects and for the town. The committee, by the way, consists of Larry Neal, a DPW commissioner who is on the call today. Ross Brackett is on our committee as well. Kate Johns, who's an architect, it has been a very valuable member. She wasn't able to join us this evening. And Kirk Keating is on vacation this week, but we do have Larry and Ross, and so they've been very closely involved the whole time. We have, as of yet, not been able to sign a contract with a designer for the Pigeon Cove Fire Station project. That is, I hope, still in the works, but perhaps Mitch can shed some light on that at some point.
Sure, I'll just jump in now, Monica, on that one.
Okay.
So Monica and I have had a couple discussions on this. We continue to have a more challenging than expected negotiation process as it relates to price quotes and scope with the first choice of the Designer Selection Committee. And If that is not resolved shortly, we will be moving to the next, but we continue to have some, I would say, unanticipated challenges getting the appropriate rate that we need to for that facility.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mitch. Fortunately, we had a little bit better luck on the with the old firehouse, and we signed a contract early in the fall with Spencer Sullivan and Vogt Architects. They are experts in historic preservation and adaptive reuse of old buildings. And one of their team members also happens to have worked on the community house here in Rockport. So really knows the town and the buildings that we have here. So in November, we began meeting with the architects to get started on a design for the building. And this naturally starts with a discussion of options, and really a key element of this is getting input from the community. So we decided as one of the first steps in the process to hold a public forum. We held a public forum in November. It was via Zoom, and we promoted it widely on the town website and social media, et cetera. And we had a pretty good turnout of residents for the public forum, a very lively discussion of ideas, et cetera, for the building. And we coupled that with what we called well, the forum was called Brainstorming Survey for the Future of the Old Firehouse. And we also had a written survey that, again, we distributed widely. And I have to say, I was really very, very surprised at the outpouring of suggestions and ideas for that building. Such enthusiasm and appreciation that the town was even considering the restoration of the building and reopening it to the public. Those surveys are available. They are long because people just poured out their heart with what they thought we should be doing with the building. But we used their responses to create what we thought was a vision, what we called a vision statement for the old firehouse. The building is really an extraordinary asset for the town. It is in an extraordinary location. We don't have any other facility available to the residents that is on the waterfront with a magnificent view of right out to motif number 1, iconic location. You can be in that building, enjoy what's going on, look out on that iconic scene, or enjoy the activity in Dock Square. It is a special place. And as one of the residents said in the survey, Rockport needs this. So taking what we got from the survey, we have since been working with the designers on a plan for the building as a place where residents and community groups can hold meetings, cultural events, of all types, and just general private use as well, in a very unique location. It would also serve as headquarters for the Rockport Cultural District, which would provide some oversight and also help facilitate some programming that might focus on Rockport's culture and heritage. So we're right now really in the thick of it, talking about the specific needs of the space, keeping it pretty much the way it is now. We're not trying to come up with anything fancy. It will still be pretty much the way it looks now, an open space on the ground floor for assembly and use in events, with windows looking out to the water. Second floor, perhaps some workstations or an office area for the Rockport Cultural District, flex space with available for small meetings and storage, some limited storage, et cetera, for groups that might be using the building. Most of the proposed work would involve basically restoration to more the way it looked in the past, because this is a historic building, has been there at least since the 1870s and possibly earlier. We are not adding anything to it except perhaps a small vertical lift to be able to make better use of the second floor and provide better access, and an additional restroom on the second floor, which is required by code. We're mindful it's in a velocity zone, and so we are looking very carefully at resiliency of the building, and we don't think that is going to be a problem. I will not go into details here, but certainly available to answer any questions. So what's next? We're working fast and furiously to come up with a preliminary design, which of course we'll bring to the board and we'll bring to the public for any additional input. But in anticipation of next steps, we have completed an application or submitted an application to the Community Preservation Committee for this next round of funding, which would be for final design and construction. And we also anticipate applying again to the Massachusetts Cultural Council and to other grant agencies as well, and perhaps undertaking a capital campaign, because we intend to keep to the pledge made really right at the start that we will not be going to the town for money from the general fund for this project. So if we have the support of the town, the Board of Selectmen, etc., if all goes well, this project could break ground in sometime in 2023, if ideally, and open its doors again to the public in sometime in 2024. Rockport can once again enjoy a building that has been really served the town in so many ways for over 100 years.
Thank you, Monica. We appreciate that. Thank you. It was a very comprehensive update. Any questions from the board on this?
No, that sounds, thank you. As the chairman said, it's very comprehensive. I think if I'm correct, that building was served as the police station before it came to the current fire station in 1939. So it's got some major league history. And
it does.
And how long do you think, do you anticipate the whole project to take from start to finish?
Well, you know, that's hard to say. It's possible we may need to do it in stages, you know, depending on funding. But if everything just went according to plan, which of course it never does, literally it could, if the funding falls into place and we could start construction in 2023, it wouldn't take very long, I don't think. But realistically, it would not be done before 2024, and give or take.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Other questions from the board? Okay, hearing none. Again, Monica, thank you for coming in. I know you're a champion of this stuff, and we appreciate the work and effort you do on this and other committees too. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on to item F, number 2, the affordable housing update. This is a good one. We finally have Denise here. She remembers these meetings well. Now she has all her own stuff going on. So, and we have Sarah, who's been working with Denise to do these things. So if we could unmute, we have Denise unmuted. That's great.
Yep.
Denise, welcome back.
Yes.
Glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Would I be able to share my screen?
Yeah, I have no problem with it. Mitch, can you, Monty, whoever's facilitating?
Yep, all set for you to do that, Denise.
Okay, hold on one second. Here we go. So I know you have a lot to cover tonight, so I'm gonna try to keep this brief. I wanted to come to let the Board of Selectmen know that a group of about 5 citizens came together almost a year ago and started talking about what we could do to try to lessen the affordable housing crunch in Rockport. And as such, over the course of the many months that we've been speaking, we've settled on creating what is called a community land trust. This is an approach that has worked in many, many other communities, including in Massachusetts. Martha's Vineyard has one that's been functioning for a number of years that is very successful. Mount Desert Island, which I know some of the members visited in years past. And we realized as we settled on this approach, the community land trust approach, that forming a community land trust requires expertise that the 5 people who are working on this just don't have. And so we approached the Community Preservation Committee to request some funding so that we could hire a consultant, somebody with experience in this area, to help us stand up the community land trust, get it up and operating in such a way that where we have governance in place, we have our administrative operating principles in place. We have applied for 501c3 status with the federal government, which I understand takes 6 to 9 months in general. I just had a call with the consultant that we've selected today. We were granted the money from the CPC out of their administrative funds. Had a call with the consultant today, Harry Smith, who ran the Dudley Street land trust in Boston, one of the largest land trusts in the country, for a number of years. He is going to be working with us to make this happen. And he suggested that I go ahead right away and file for Chapter 180 approval in the state, which is a precursor to 501c3 status, and get set up as a state charitable organization. So I'm going to get that started right away. All of this in the service of getting us up and running as the town's land trust, well, as a land trust operated by a board of directors with charitable status. So our goal is to, over the next 10 years, to work with Habitat for Humanity, who we've already spoken with, and they're very much on board, build up to 10 housing units, either single family or dual units, with a preference given to Cape Ann residents, support up to 15 individuals with down payment assistance, solicit donations to the fund dedicated exclusively to Rockport sustainable housing from the Rockport Community Preservation Committee, local benefactors, institutes, and then also look to collect donations in kind of real estate, land, building materials, and volunteers. And also speak with local property owners who might be willing and interested in donating their property in the future, or working with the trust and giving us right of first refusal on properties that they're looking to sell perhaps at some time in the future. We want to get something up and running that will continue to operate after those of us who worked on this are no longer around. We want this to be a sustainable institution that really supports the town and provides for affordable housing, which is an absolute crying need in this town at the moment. The individuals involved are me, Sarah, Jeff Juveler, who I think you all know, who's on the finance committee. He's an investment professional, and Bob Rosenfield, who is the former CEO of J&J Phillips Glass, and in his retirement is very, very active in charitable endeavors. So we have a really solid working group, and
Rob,
we're very committed to this. What's that?
Rob Lebo.
Oh, and sorry, Rob Lebo. Can't forget Rob. Sorry.
He's not gone yet, to give him a little credit.
He's going to have a lot of time for us once he retires.
That's right.
So that's essentially what we're doing. I just wanted to share that with all of you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to Sarah for anything she'd like to add on this. Sarah?
Yeah, I'm just going to add briefly that, you know, Denise is doing the heavy lift on this. It's a great small group of people who are all kind of really committed to just making some difference in this in town. And I think it's really important to note that this is totally kind of in parallel to all the hard work that the planning board is doing with the TOD, the development, and also with the change to the zoning laws. But like, this is literally all stuff that, you know, the more that happens, the better. And this is just kind of a different route, but one that can totally work in conjunction with with the planning board's hard work.
Thank you. And with it, whatever other efforts that people decide they want to take on their own to try to help with affordable housing. This is just a group of concerned citizens.
Yeah, and
we've get something done.
We've seen this work in so many other communities, and you know, we have people willing to kind of chip in, so we're making a go at it in all of our free time.
Yeah. Right. No, I totally get it, and thank you both for what you're doing. I mean, the work is noble, and it's needed, not only morally, but it's mandated by the state that we try to achieve these levels. So I think it's great. I have a few questions, if I may. I'll kick it off. How do the planning board zoning changes affect this? Is there any overlap on this at all?
No, this is completely separate and apart from whatever the planning board is doing. There's no overlap, no.
Okay.
Can I just add one thing to that, Dom?
Yeah,
So just,
of course.
Just a brief example is, and I know we've all talked about, you know, young professionals, young families, some of whom may have grown up here and want to either come back here after school, but we're really talking about young families that have, you know, well-paying jobs and just can't like crack the egg to move here. So we're talking about like down payment assistance. So for example, you know, you get approved for a mortgage and you both have, you know, good two people in the home, have good salaries. We would help with the in exchange for an affordable housing covenant on the deed. We would help with the down payment. So there's someone who can afford the monthly payment, but not the down payment. So it's really like one-off situation.
Right. This program is intended to support first-time home buyers. We're going to have to define what that means, but you know, for example, in Gloucester, first-time home buyers under their program are defined as people who haven't owned a home in the last 3 years. We haven't yet made a decision about that, but the goal is to focus on first-time home buyers.
Right, and I know that's been a requirement from the banks too. I've seen it before. I qualified my first time, but then my second house and third house I didn't. But that's okay. I get it. Is there? I know that you had CPC in there, but is there any other town contribution that we're looking for on this as part of a yearly contribution, or is this solely benefactors and things of that nature?
At this point in time, no. We may come back to the town and talk about tax title land at some point, and what possibilities might exist to take advantage of some tax title land. But that's way far into the future. It's not something that's on the agenda at the moment.
So for right now, it's pretty much a self-sustaining fund with the things going.
That's the plan.
Good. And my last question is, you talked about people that were interested that could potentially donate land. Have you had any interest along those lines? Do you have anybody that has reached out or what have you?
No, we haven't had anyone who's reached out. We haven't done any marketing whatsoever. I think all of us have ideas in our head of people we want to approach with, you know, once we get this up and running, and we're really committed to formulating a detailed operational plan that will give our donors a sense of security that this is a solid and credible approach. So we want to have, you know, an operational plan. We want to include a feasibility study that shows a few examples of properties that might fit what we need and what kind of budget would be required. And then we also want to have in place an operating budget for the first couple of years so that, you know, our potential donors can see that we've thought all this through and have a detailed sense of what's going to be needed.
So I guess I lied. So it actually brings up one more question, if I may. Sure. Is there how this is going to be through the Board of Selectmen? Is that correct? Or are you looking for an additional committee?
No, this is just a group of private citizens just kind of wanting to come and fill in the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, but how would this all be facilitated? I guess it stays that in that arena.
Yeah, so at some point we'd probably need to hire a part-time coordinator who would work for the the Community Land Trust. But there would be nothing required from the Board of Selectmen.
We are going to apply for 501c3 status, which is
Right.
charitable status. So
Charitable.
similar to Friends of Millbrook Meadow.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. To the rest of the board, questions? Herm?
Yes, a couple of things. You're to be commended. I hope you carry through with it. We started this several years ago and it went nowhere. So I'm hoping that you're going to go with it this time and not drop it.
I didn't drop it the last time.
No, beside the point, it was dropped. Beside the point.
Thank
It
you,
was
Herm.
dropped. All right. Anyway, the fact remains there's a couple of things. One is you said that you're working towards having property developed for hopefully Cape Ann residents. Now you're involving Habitat for Humanity, which I'm sure makes it demands that you allow people from all over to make use of these pieces of property if they are involved. Is that the reason why you said what you said? Or why aren't you focusing on just those who in fact have either grown up in town and they want to establish a family here, or they've moved back after growing up in town and they want to buy a house here and they're professionals? Why don't you limit it to just those who are tied to the town?
It's actually a state requirement. If you accept state funds, such as funds allocated through the CPA, the Community Preservation Act, you can only indicate a preference of local residents, and you can only allocate up to 70% of the units toward local residents.
So that's the caveat. CPC is the caveat. That's the reason.
So state funds.
That's
State funds.
That's right. But that's the reason why, whereas that's not the case in Southwest Harbor. That's not the case in Martha's Vineyard. That's
I
not the
can't
case.
speak to those, but
I mean, but I believe that's true. I believe that they are for those communities because the funds have come from those communities. And I think
Or
that you would, wait, well, let me please. And you would perhaps aid yourselves greatly from the standpoint of having donations of land in town if you in fact dropped those other sources of funds, only look for funds in town, that would then enable you to build structures for people who are closely associated with Rockford, i.e. they grew up here, they're coming back here. So that's the first. The other is.
May I speak to that, Herm?
Sure.
If we were to accept only private donations, we could certainly limit it to Rockport affiliated people. We have decided as a group that we are not interested in that approach. We really need to be able to solicit funds from the CPC to keep this sustainable. So we've already ruled that out as an approach. We don't think that that's workable.
Okay.
We need $26 million. We're estimating over the next 10 years, and we just don't see that happening coming from private donations.
Okay,
in
fine.
our estimation.
You're going to need more than that. So you're ready to do battle with anybody in town who are listening tonight who say we don't want any more development in town because we don't have the water or the sewer to handle it. You're ready to do that battle.
I don't see it as a battle. I think
okay. If you don't see it as a battle, that's great. But but every time it's been brought up, it's a battle. So whether you want to accept it as a battle or you just think it's a matter of course, that's okay. I don't really care. But there is a major course of action and involvement that you have to face, and that's water and sewer.
Yeah, totally agree, but that's true for anyone who's building in Rockport.
No, but I mean, that's the reason why people are going to say, forget this.
I think that people generally perceive affordable housing to be a real problem in town, and I think there's probably much more support.
I'm not denying it. It's not my point of view.
Can I finish a sentence?
Yes, but it's not my point of view.
If you don't mind, may I finish a
Hang
sentence?
on, let's go one at a time.
I don't want you to, in a sense, restate what I'm stating. What I'm stating is, it's not my point of view. I've been after affordable housing for all the years that I've been back in town. I am still for affordable housing. So don't think that I don't either, number one, see the two battles, water and sewer, and that I'm not for affordable housing. I am. So that's where you can go on.
Denise, please go right ahead.
Anyone who's attended the planning board meetings over the past year knows that we asked the DPW to come in and meet with us to talk about sewer capacity and water capacity. So we're very aware of those problems on the planning board and are certainly not going to proceed in ignorance, and we'll be well aware of the challenges. It's also our intention to engage the community in this process as much as possible, and try to bring the community along with our approach.
Good luck.
Thanks, Denise. Other questions from the board? Paul Ross?
No, I just, I want to commend everyone on the board, particularly Denise and Sarah, for putting this forward. There's a desperate need for affordable housing, and hopefully we'll get some more younger people moving into town or being able to purchase in town and stay here, because our school system needs the numbers. That's not the only reason, but the school system is scarily, the enrollment, it scares me how low it is right now. So
Agreed. Yeah.
thank you for all your efforts. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Paul. Yep.
All right. All right. Any other questions from the board?
My comments are going to echo Selectman Murphy's.
Thanks, Ross.
Good, very good. Well, I mean, this is something that we had on the agenda 2 or 3 meetings ago, and then Sarah couldn't be at that one, then we changed it. But I got to tell you, I'm glad that we waited. And I think this is a great jumping off point for this to start to address a problem that needs to be addressed. And I really honestly, sincerely can't thank Denise and Sarah enough for the work they're doing on this. And you bring that to the board. Let's talk about it some more. Let's get really craft it up well and put something in place. I think it's a great thing. So thank you both.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Very committed to this. And one thing that I want to mention, and then I'll let you get on to your rest of the meeting, is the approach that we're going to take is called a land lease approach. So the trust will actually own the land under the house. And that means that and there will be a resale formula, so that when the people who qualify and move into the home decide they want to move on, the sale of the house will be, the price will be determined by this resale formula, thereby keeping the property in the affordable housing stream in town. So it's something that's designed to self-perpetuate as well.
Yeah, other towns have done exactly that, and I think it's been very successful. So I think that'll work out well. Yeah, good idea.
Thank you, John. Okay,
and then,
thank you all very much.
No problem. The people know when they buy a property, if there's a deed restriction of what have you, and they get into that. But at least it'll get some people back in the pipeline that normally wouldn't be there. So good job.
Right. Thank you.
Okay,
thanks all.
Sarah, you're welcome, Denise. Thank you. Sarah, anything in closing?
Oh, thanks, Denise.
Okay.
Welcome back, Denise.
Thank you.
Yeah. There you go.
Ross.
I was just going to ask if you could forward the presentation you had to the board.
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to do that.
Thank
Yep. Yep.
Great. Okay, moving along. Let's go to item G, the consent agenda, the approval of minutes, approval of the annual Declaration of Independence Day reading at Dock Square. Pardon me. 81 Long Beach lease to reflect the change of address, 22 Old County Road lease to reflect the change of address, and the yearly license renewal, Eagle House Motel and Sandy Bay Service Center. Does anybody wish to hold any of the items on the consent agenda? Hearing none, we will vote as a slate. Is there a motion?
There is, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Board of Selectmen approve all non-held items on the consent agenda.
Second.
That's very good. Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Selectman Brackett.
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
Selectman Lilia.
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Going on to the action list, we have the Denmark consent and estoppel certificate. This basically is just a transfer of ownership. The town owns the land. This is just a transfer of ownership, so we're going to go along those lines. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have a motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen grant consent to 44 South Street LLC to sublease the premises known as Denmark Rehab and Nursing Center to Oceanside Rehabilitation and Health Center, LLC, and ask the chairman to sign the consent and estoppel certificate to that effect.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion here? Anybody have any questions? Any clarifications? We good? Pretty straightforward. Okay, hearing none, roll call vote. Selectman Brackett. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. Selectman
No, it
Williams.
was a quickie. I mean, it isn't so long ago that this organization bought this and now they're trading, subleasing. Any awareness as to why?
So I think it's, I would say for this particular property, it's fairly typical. Probably every other year, we're seeing something like this come through. In a lot of cases, up until this particular point, when it's actually changing names, Denmark itself, behind the scenes, has altered ownership in the decade I've been here, at least 6 or 8 times, if not more. So what I would say is it's happening a lot behind the scenes. In this case, it just happens to be a name change and a little bit more public as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Herm. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none. We have a motion, been seconded. Roll call vote. Selectman Brackett.
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
Selectman Lilia.
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. We are going on to item number 2, the approval of the You Can Run road race. You can, but I can't. So we'll go with that. The chief has placed some requirements on this, and as long as all of those are met, then I think everything will be fine. The applicants are well aware of them, so we can rest easy with that. So that's a good thing.
Mr. Chair, if I could just share those
Please.
for the record.
Yeah, I wanted to just talk about this too.
Sure. So
No problem.
Chief Horvath and Sergeant Boudreau met with Rich Morrell, who I believe is here this evening, in December on this particular matter, and discussed the concerns that have been raised relating to traffic conditions and safety concerns. And Rich shared with the chief that they are willing to do the following 2 enhancements, which after I read them, I will ask that you, whatever motion you make, that you add them in as stipulations. First being assign race personnel to escort the group of runners at the start of the race from the starting line to South Street at Thatcher, which is where the race really begins to spread out and not create traffic concerns, and to have signage posted for all races that directs runners to keep to the right side of the road. So those are the 2 requests from the police department based on the conversation with Rich from UCAN. And I would ask that you incorporate those in as stipulations to any approval should you do that.
Okay. Herm?
Yes, I'm not speaking officially on behalf of the ambulance department, but I do know from personal contact with members that the ambulance department is never notified when these races take place. Police department is, others are, but the ambulance department is never. It would be nice if you built in that these organizations must notify the ambulance department that in fact a race is going to be taking place on a given weekend at a given time.
Is the ambulance department, just a quick question, I concur with you, Selectman Lilia, but are they normally notified of,
No.
are they working during the, they're on call?
Not
It's
races.
my understanding that had already been happening. I'm surprised to hear it's not. I will address that behind the scenes.
Would that be a function of the town and us notifying, or would that have to be the applicant?
We'll make sure that notification to all the appropriate public safety agencies is made. As I said, I was in the impression that was happening. It's not, so we'll certainly correct that.
Okay,
So would, not to prolong this, but would this would the town be picking up the ambulance fee, or would the organization?
So this isn't necessarily about that. I think it's the simple fact that it's actually happening.
It's just a
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I add one?
Sarah? Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
And I, of course, support the races, and it's awesome, and it brings people to town and local people run. My only issue is the August race. I thought the plan last year was no traffic got stopped. Runners were just supposed to stay to the side, but I was stopped for close to 30 minutes on South Street. I was actually texting with someone I know who works for them, who was like, no, it shouldn't be closed. And I was like, it is closed. And it was just, it wasn't a safe situation. People were then, I actually took pictures because people were then doing like 3-point turns in the middle of South Street because we were stopped for so long. So I just want to make sure that they work really, set them up for success. They have to work really closely with the police and traffic, and either traffic's going to be stopped or it isn't, but it just has to be really well communicated.
Okay. All right, very good. Anything else to add here from anybody? No, a lot of discussion tonight on topics. I like this. This is good. We fully vet things, so it's a good way to do things. Is there a motion? A revised motion for the whole thing?
Sure. So Mitch, I didn't memorize what you added.
Certainly, I can reread them. That race personnel be assigned to escort the group of runners at the start of the race from the starting line to South Street at Thatcher Road.
Okay.
And that signage be posted for all races that directs runners to keep to the right side of the road.
Okay, so hold on. So I move that the Board of Selectmen approve UCAN road races to be held as follows: one on 4/3/22, one on 4/30/22, 3 on 8/7/22, one on 10/16/22, one on 10/17/21, and 2 on 12/4/22. All signs and trash to be picked up after each race. In addition, a race personnel to escort the runners from the start of the race to Thatcher Road,
Just south at Thatcher.
south at Thatcher. And in addition, that signage for races, signage for all races to include runners staying to the right side,
But they must stay to the right side.
must stay to the right side.
What
You
about
only
ambulance?
And
Mitch said he'll handle that.
Okay, so we-
We'll address that internally.
okay,
The one change I would make is, unless they're all running backwards, change the 10/17/21 to 10/17/22.
22, yeah. So can someone second it just so then we can discuss?
I'll
Second.
second.
Thanks. So
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering how many more, I guess, if it's an increase, they're in the shoulder seasons. And honestly, the only big issue I've seen is the August race. So I guess that's the only one in the summer. The rest are before Memorial Day and after Labor Day. So
Okay.
that's fine.
I have no problem with them.
Nope, I'm fine. But yeah, we just made, that is a good point. Make sure that everybody's notified. So that's a good thing. Okay, any other questions on this one? Moving right along. Go ahead, Sarah, please.
Oh, no, sorry. I thought you said we're moving along to something else. Sorry.
No, we're gonna keep going with this. So roll call vote. Selectman Brackett,
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lilia,
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. That's great. The approval of the Cape Ann Trail Stewart Dogtown Run. A lot of running around in town here. That's a good thing. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that the board approve the use of the top of Summit Avenue for the Dogtown Trail Run organized by the Cape Ann Trail Stewards on May 21st, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Second.
There you go. Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion on this one? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Selectman Brackett,
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson,
This is awesome. We kind of passed through that quickly, but this is super cool. So aye.
excellent. No, I agree with you, Sarah. You're right. Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lilia,
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. We are going to move on to item H4. My handy dandy cheat sheet here. The town administrator evaluation.
John, hold on, there's a hand up, and then I was just gonna add in to Herm's point, we should make sure the ambulance crew knows about the trail, the trail
So we're
run.
gonna be sure that all the public safety folks are aware of everything that goes out like that. We'll correct that error.
Steve Wood's hand might be about the trail race.
Okay, good. That's fine. Monty, can you unmute Steve? Thanks. Go ahead. Hi, Steve, you're on. Name and address for the record, please.
Stephen Whitty, 7 Decatur Street, Gloucester, Mass. On behalf of the Cape Ann Trail Stewards, thank you for approving this. We had a great run last November, and we look forward to doing this, kind of annually in May from here on out. With your
That's great.
approval.
Thanks for doing it. It's a great thing. Thank you so much. It really is. It's a nice
Thank
event,
you.
and these things bring people in. So thank you.
And I might add that Steve is a former longtime math teacher at Rockwood High School, retired.
Thank you, Paul. Good seeing you.
Good to
There
see
you go. See, that's a good thing. All right. So we're good. So we have a motion. Was the motion read? I'm sorry.
Yes.
It was read. Okay. Did we? And I'm sure we had a
voted- we
second.
already voted on everything on the UK.
So everything's all set on this one. We're done on this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
good. Yeah. All right, good. I'm sorry. Kind of threw me off kilter there for a little bit. So we are going to move on to H4, the town administrator evaluation. This is something that is contractual, and we've performed the duty that we need to. We've all members of the Board of Selectmen have submitted their evaluations to our HR director, Michelle Lee Maloney. Sorry, I almost called you Mahoney. And she has everything. So Michelle, I will turn it over to you if that's okay. We can't hear you. You're not muted, so I'm not sure what's going on. You're not showing as muted anyway. Maybe your speaker's on your computer. Try that now. Say something.
How
No?
is this now? Any better?
We
All right,
got you. That's
perfect.
perfect.
Thank you. I apologize for that.
Don't
It's
apologize.
great to
Go
see
ahead.
everyone. I haven't been here in such a long time. It's great to bring something positive and happy, like our town administrative evaluation. I'm going to be sharing the document with you for a shared screen. A quick introduction for it. It's the this is the final town administrator. It's a composite evaluation. It's based on performance standards during January 1st, 2021 and December 31st, 2021. And this is the first time the board is actually seeing this composite document. So I'm looking forward to showing it with you. Each board member was asked to evaluate the town administrator, Mitch Vieira, on the following 9 performance standards: budgetary financial administration, personnel administration, supervision and leadership, staff development, public relations, employee and labor relations, policy execution, interaction with selectmen and other town boards, responsibilities set forth in job description and as assigned by the Board of Selectmen. It's clear that each of the Board of Selectmen members invested a great deal of time into this evaluation. And for most part, members of the board were very positive in their comments and had high praise for our town administrator, specifically for his availability and responsiveness to the public, his work ethic, his relationship with town staff, and his accessibility to board and committee members. So after you have a chance to take a look at it, just a slight reminder that it is the board is required to vote on the final evaluation tonight.
Wait, is it supposed to be screen shared? I don't see anything.
She's going to.
Oh, okay.
Do I have that ability just yet?
Granted, Michelle.
Thank you. Oh, don't you love when these moments happen? Okay. Are you able to see that? Just it keeps clicking off. Modern technology. I'm calling it back up. Okay, it's not.
There we go.
Here we go. All right, thank you. So the following, all the entire members of the Board of Selectmen were very timely in getting their forms back, so I do appreciate it. It made the job very easy getting things through. The performance standard is the basis of what you had evaluated, and I copied and pasted each comment to the evaluation, only made some minor tweaks. To summarize, the budgetary, financial, and the financial, I'm getting over COVID, so my breath is not where it needs to be, so it's very frustrating. So I do
Take your time.
apologize.
Take your time. You're doing fine.
So for the budgetary financial administration, the overall is that they credit him for his simplicity and streamlining the process. It was unanimous across the board that each of you found the fact that he just knew the budget so well, was able to explain it so well. You know, it's almost inhuman the way he knows the budget. It's kind of crazy. I'm not sure if you want to go into specifics of each of the comments. What was it that you guys would like to have?
I think if we just give a nice overview of everything, we don't have to get into it specifically, just an overview so we can get a flavor.
Moving down to personnel administration. Most members found him to be professional, fair, and always considerate. One member did mention his creation and work with the HR director was a positive move for the town, so I highly agree with that person's comment. You know, Mitch's his experience that he has in personnel administration is so broad across everything that he deals with, and he's a great person to bounce ideas off of. And he's so experienced, even to the point that he's still open to new ideas and having conversations and still coming up with new things. It's really fascinating. I find him to be a great mentor. It's not easy to find somebody who knows everything, but is still willing to listen to new ideas and take those into consideration. It leads directly to his supervision and his leadership. He is very, very respected by the board, by his team. You know, he is a boss, but he's also, we're part of a team, and he definitely displays that in his everyday work. And I think that you as the board have found him to be exactly the same way, which leads right into staff development. He's consistent. He encourages people to better themselves, provide opportunities. Now that COVID is kind of coming on the other side of the circle, it'll be great to actually bring in trainings on a broad basis and offer more opportunities to people. We're doing the best we can with the limited resources that we have now, but it'll be really great on the other side of this to bring in more and offer more opportunities for people. And public relations, he's always one step ahead. He speaks well, he communicates effectively. He could probably do this way better than I'm doing it right now. Employee and labor relations, working for 3 municipalities. One of the members had really nailed it and said how lucky Rockport is to have Mitch, because your union negotiations are very smooth. They're very seamless. Everybody is fair. They're mutual, respect on both sides, and that, you know, it's always a lookout for what's best for the employee and best for the town. And you're very, very lucky there, because not a lot of municipalities have that same relationship with the unions. Policy execution. Someone said it best when he said he does not shy away to ensure policies are followed, and he leads by example. He is, you know, he never looks at himself as the exception. He looks at himself as the example and expects everyone to do the same. So it's really great. And his interaction with selectmen and other town boards. He's effective, he's timely, he's open and willing to help. I kind of chuckle listening to the new officer, Josh Ulrich, in he's put willing to do windows. And I think that we can all agree is that Mitch is always willing to do windows.
Chief cook and bottle washer.
That's it. Responsibilities set forth in job description and as assigned by the Board of Selectmen. There's no doubt Mitch exceeds all responsibilities and then some. Is there any other questions that you have? Is there more explanation that you'd like on each topic?
No, I think unless individual selectmen have questions, I think you did a great job in presenting this. So, again, this was a contractual obligation that we had to do this, and we did it. And I'm sure it will be carried on. Any questions from the board for Michelle?
No, thanks so much, Michelle. I mean, it's very clear by looking at these that they were all very similar. All of our comments, in the way that you've laid it out, it's really easy to see that our comments were very of similar demeanor, definitely. And that's, interesting to see, because honestly, it's not, it's not something that we talk, we obviously, talk in meetings and we'll talk one-on-one, but it's really nice to see that we're all on the same page. That's great.
In our position, it's nice to be able to be here and to hear what you have to say. And I actually can be on the other side of it and represent the employee side of, which, is exactly the same of what you guys see. So it's consistent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will tell you that there's Board of Selectmen, town administrator, other town department heads and boards and committees, take a lot of heat from people all the time. But being on the inside of this and seeing what goes on and being privy to the day-to-day, not to make this a smoke blowing session here, but Mitch is really good. He goes above and beyond. He's a 60-hour plus a week guy. I'd venture to say he borders on 70. Very dedicated to what he does. And I know every time I call Mitch and I have a question, he answers it. Or if he doesn't have the answer, he finds it. And we're very fortunate to have somebody of Mitch's caliber in this town. And I think, hopefully he serves for many years to come. But anyway, any other comments from the board? Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Michelle. That was, I've been on the board for close to 12 years now. And that was a nice process. You gave us the documents. We were able to, the five of us, compile our responses, get it to you. And it was just a very smooth operation. And I think evaluation and supervision is a very, very important part of any public administrator, superintendent, school administrator, whatever the case may be. And Mitch, I remember when we hired him, he was 23 years old, I think, when he came to Rockport as the assistant TA. And
he's 60 now, Paul.
Well, the last 2 years made him 60 in terms of what he's had to put through. But he never gets upset. I wish I could say that about me. He handles himself well. The public is very comfortable around him. People call him, he calls people back. He's great on the public relation aspect, and we're lucky to have him. And I hope we have him for many, many years to come. And I know he's a young man and he's got lots of ambition and so forth, but we'll take him as long as he's going to stay here in Rockport. So just a tip of the hat to you, Mitch. Nice job. Well done.
Excellent. Any other comments? Herm, please.
Yes, I'll chime in last, or actually Ross hasn't said anything, sorry. Anyway, no, Mitch is a professional. That's what you have. And yes, it is a matter of hanging on to him as long as we can hang on to him. He can do it all. And what skills he doesn't have, he's learning fast. So therefore, he is to be congratulated on what he's accomplished. And hopefully we can continue to appreciate him. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, Michelle, anything in closing?
No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity and the kind words, and I look forward to keeping my boss around for a really long time.
There you go. Michelle, thank you. Thank you for Sarah, please.
Yeah, I just want to make one other comment, because I know we don't see Michelle often either, but one of my comments on Mitch's evaluation was that he's doing a great job. Like, one thing, of all the things he's doing a great job at is building a great team around him. And I know Michelle is included in that. Monty is included in that. The finance team, because honestly, I've been on this board. This is the third town administrator. And it's honestly hard to compare. It's just not that the others weren't competent or did a good job, but Mitch has just taken it to another level. But I think, he's a leader because he leads by example. But I really think that the team that you're creating around you, and that supports us to be with people and take calls and make the policies that we do is really, it's the key to all of it. So thank you to Mitch, but Michelle, thank you to you. Monty, thank you to you. And please, Michelle, I know you talk to lots of staff and volunteers. Please convey that to them as well.
I absolutely will, Sarah. Thank you.
That's great. Okay, and is there a motion on this one?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the town administrator evaluation.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, roll call vote. Selectman Brackett,
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lilia,
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. Mitch, thank you for all of your hard work. I'm sure you know by now that all of our comments were heartfelt. We thank you for what you do every day for us, and we're not the important part. The town is, and that's really where you shine. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to just very, very briefly extend my thanks to the board. I've had the pleasure of working here for 10 years. I'm in my 10th year now. And I appreciate the ongoing and continued support and dialogue that we all have on a regular basis. I'm able to do what I do because of the support and the trust level that I have with all of you and that you have with me. So that is greatly appreciated all the time. And also because of the wonderful team that we all have working with us, every position. We're certainly in the selectmen and the administrative office, captaining the ship, but the ship doesn't run if everybody else isn't on board, and we have a wonderful team. So I want to extend significant thanks to all of our employees. They make the job easier as we go along. We have a very good team here, full-time, part-time, stipend, volunteer, everyone. And I want to extend that my thanks and kindness to all of them. And again, to the board for your ongoing and continued support. It is truly my pleasure to serve the town of Rockport and to support the board as your operating officer. So I thank you again for the support and the confidence that you've extended to me through this evaluation. Greatly appreciated.
Even Monty?
Selectman.
Mainly me.
Mainly.
I still outrank him. I've been here 3 months longer.
There you go. See?
Monty, if you have, sorry to interrupt, if you have to mute me, one of my kids is playing when the band goes marching in on a trumpet outside my door. If you have to mute me, just mute me. If I can't tell if you can hear it.
Getting ready for the summer concerts next year, Sarah? I had a trumpet in my house. Believe me, I feel your pain. Yeah, I get it. Mitch, very well said. And again, a big thanks. You speak eloquently and you represent in the most glowing possible way the town that you so proudly serve. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's enough of a Mitch session right now. So we'll move on. We voted on this, correct? I'm sorry, I lost track.
We did.
We did vote. Good. Okay, perfect. And our last item on here, the approval of ARPA Local Fishery Recovery Fund request. There is none. We just have that as a placeholder on the agenda, so we're going to skip that. And now we will move on to the last part of tonight's festivities. Item J, public comment. Please
Chair.
raise your, I'm sorry.
Board of Selectmen and Town Administrative updates.
Oh, gee, I skipped right. Oh, thank you, Ross. I skipped over it again. My apologies. With that, back to our town administrator for the fiscal 23 budget, which I believe is the health insurance and the drive-through COVID test, not testing, tests that were given out. So Mitch, go ahead, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, starting with the budget first, we have gotten a verbal on our health insurance renewal rate. It is very favorable. I'm going to wait and share the exact amount when I have it in writing, just to be sure that nothing changes between now and tomorrow morning. But it is very favorable for us. So we are now in the process of preparing an update to the budget that we'll share with Finance Committee and with this board based on what we anticipate will be some additional available funding now that it's not no longer needs to be parked for increases to our health insurance. So we're able to take a bit of a look at some of the areas that we needed to focus on. We've got a number of items that we do need to focus on to allow us to increase our efficiency, and looking forward to addressing some of those as much as our budget will allow, as well as being cognizant of the need to increase the Finance Committee reserve as well. That's always an ongoing priority. So we are working on that. And when the finance team has some of those materials ready, we will send it straight away to the board as well as the Finance Committee. Switching over to COVID. We had a very, very successful test kit distribution event on Sunday. We gave away nearly 1,000 kits, which was fantastic, despite the snow and the cold weather. Thanks to everyone who came out to get the tests, and thanks to the volunteers who came out and helped to hand them out. It was a chilly couple of hours, but certainly well worth it. Everyone was very receptive, very appreciative. As the Code Red indicated yesterday, we are now giving them away during business hours at Town Hall, and we gave away each case holds 90. We've gone through just about 2 cases today, so that's fantastic. We'll continue to do that. We're also working to get some additional distribution events, which we'll hope to publicly announce in the next day or so, including working with the schools and collaborating with them on getting it out. The goal is to get as many of those tests out as quickly as possible. We are also providing them to town employees and their families so that we can be sure that we're covering everybody. One of the things that sometimes get overlooked in government, we're also an employer. So it's important that we're taking that time, and we're including all of our employees in the test distribution as well. So that's the test kit distribution portion. Now that everybody is aware, the mask order has been rescinded by the Board of Health. So we've updated our signage throughout town and our COVID information. Our staff COVID testing that we're doing for town hall and police on a weekly basis will be adjusted to twice weekly for the next 2 weeks as we transition out of masks. And so we are in good shape, knock on wood, for the moment with that particular topic. And that is all I have for budget and COVID at this point. Just basically folks should keep an eye out via Code Red and our social media channels for additional test distribution, and they can come by Town Hall at any time while supplies last to pick up kits.
Mitch, where in Town Hall, the Selectman's office or?
Board of Selectmen's office. Yep, they can come right up. We did a brisk business. Michelle and Debbie and I were taking turns today. It was a very steady stream all day.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Great. That's excellent. And do we have that posted? Can we get that posted up on the town website so people know and they can be aware, maybe get some social media stuff out there too?
We do. We have a couple of posts that are scheduled to go out over the next day or so we can paste it out to keep it in the front of people's minds.
Outstanding. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so do you want to dovetail that into the COVID-19 stuff? Or do you want to end it with that? Because you kind of gave an overview.
Yeah, I gave it all together. I'm
okay.
good, Mr. Chair.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay, let's go around the horn here on the board. Who wants to go first? Anybody have any updates? Ross?
The Cape Ann Chamber met with the businesses this morning. There were, not decent size, about 15 to 20 businesses attended. A lot of positive talk on outdoor dining, so I'm sure that will be, a focus that we got to get going on shortly. That's about it. So,
A question on that. Obviously, the board has to vote on allowing outdoor dining for next year. Correct?
yes.
Yeah.
One of the big things that is worrisome is alcohol being allowed outside. That was extended by the state. If they don't extend that again, it's, will it benefit the businesses, the restaurants? We don't know, but that's in the talk, and it's also getting worked on the state level. So
When do we need to act on that?
I would say it'll probably start to appear on your agenda next month. And again, as Selectman Brackett indicated, we really need the state to be, give us a little bit more long-term consistency on the topic.
So I'm all for it.
And one other topic that the chamber is going to put together is a meeting of just the restaurants. So I'll keep you updated on that as well.
Excellent. Anybody else from the board? Herm, Paul, Sarah? John Boyd, Mary Ellen?
I think everybody's covered everything that I've gone to.
All right. I have one thing, and it just addresses, pardon me, a comment that was made earlier. And I just want to reiterate, and I want, the few people we have left here, and hopefully once people see this and it's, available for people to download or what have you. The remote part of the Board of Selectmen, I think has been phenomenal. With having 30, 40, 50 people at a meeting, again, as opposed to 2, I think, and I'll ask Monty this question. The hybrid model is really kind of an ideal model because it puts people back in the building, and we can go that route. But Monty, any update on the equipment for any of that stuff? And when we can expect that to happen?
Yes and no. Yes, in that installation.
It's more complicated than we had hoped.
Installation starts tomorrow at the town library, but not all the equipment has showed up. So the audio equipment, they're having a lot of trouble securing specific parts with specific chips, as if we haven't heard that enough, a delay in chips. So they'll get it going. They'll make sure they've got all the kinks ironed out and keep waiting for the equipment. It was originally slated for January, now February, now March. So,
Any idea when, if we were to hold your feet to the fire here, any idea when you think with the Board of Selectmen stuff will be operational?
That we can get back on that when Frank gets back and we light the fiber up that is physically in Gloucester. We just need to provide Studio 1623 with a switch and the right optics to be able to set that up and then configure, test, etc. Everything we need in that meeting room that you're in is there. It's just a matter of
So they still have to come here. Now with all this fiber optic stuff, could they do this remotely?
Not in that room.
No.
That room won't be fully remote. The other one will.
So that's just to jump in for a second. That's a complicating factor for us. So, that now means we've got to ensure that we've got an operator and that operator also has accessibility to our Zoom accounts. It's complicated, unfortunately. The library space is going to be much easier, as Monty indicated, and that's really, I think, going to be a model for some of the other towns. So kudos to IT for that, but the selectmen's meeting room is going to be complicated.
Manchester is trying to install the same thing. They're a little farther behind.
Okay. All right. Herm?
Yes, sorry.
It's okay.
It's a Charlie horse from skiing today. So anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, as it turns out, I'm interested in knowing how many venues are going to be set up this way. What
For us, only 2 have been slated.
Slated. Is there talk of doing more?
Where would you put them?
Yeah, and that's the.
I'm asking.
So that's the concern that we have. So we have capability to properly do a setup in conference room A and in the Brenner room. The other rooms are not necessarily conducive to it. In many cases, for example, the annex lobby and the community room at the police station, there's not a place to have the operating equipment, because that's the other piece that ties into it. We have operating equipment that has to go with it. And there is not necessarily a place to have a setup for that. So when we are at the point where we can do hybrid, it is going to cause some scheduling kinks with only 2 of those rooms when that does become available. Not that everybody will want it, but it'll be something we have to consider.
Backup or follow-up question. Will all of the meetings be recorded?
Not those that are not part of the hybrid process, or that 1623 is not sending it to. So that is one of the downfalls with for those committees that'll be moving back to totally in person. We don't have the capability or the staffing to be able to record all of those the same way we're doing with Zoom. Zoom makes it easy and convenient. It'll be back to, for those that are in person, using the little tape recorder for the meeting support clerk. We're not set up where we don't have the actual capacity to staff and record every meeting.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It really is. That's unfortunate. I mean, with all of this new great technology we're putting in, we're actually, in essence, taking a step backwards as well.
Yes.
And that's, do we have any way to remedy that? I mean, I think it's important these meetings are, and I'm sorry I opened a can of worms here, but is there any way to get that done? I mean, if you did a hybrid with a Zoom overlay, and that way you could.
It's not as easy as just doing that. We've been working through the scenarios on it, and in many cases, it's down to we actually need bodies to be able to go in and do that. So we're taking the first step. We have to. So taking one step back, we've got to address our imminent compliance issues, ensuring that people stay in compliance with the public records law and the open meeting law. So as you're aware, in your budget that's gone to the finance committee, where we've included money for meeting support clerks to keep the minutes done and get that taken care of. Those folks will not necessarily all be capable or have the ability to do some of the hybrid stuff. We'll do our best on that, but it is not a simple, here it is. We're good to go. We have space limitations on it. Again, if we had more places in town where we could have the setups that conference room A and the Brenner room have, it'd be a lot easier. We're just not set up to have it happen as easily as we would like for everybody.
All right, well, let's revisit this, because I think this is kind of important.
It's certainly not something that's stopped. It's an ongoing discussion that we have, but just being cognizant of what the limitations are in front of us right now. We have some very real physical space limitations that we have to be cognizant of.
Got it. Okay.
For example, there's almost nothing at the school that would be viable. They're starving for space, and setting up something in their library it's a horrible space for a meeting, for cameras and audio and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, go ahead, Herm, please.
So which is the more important of the two, or the bigger issue, space or the personnel to coordinate this multiple collection of data?
So it's both. The personnel issue is going to be more relevant for operating conference room A. And then, that conference room A can only hold so many people. So in essence, we could probably, if we did 2-hour sets for meetings, we could do 2 a night, Monday through Thursday. That's only moving certain amounts of the boards and committees through. So our pipeline is pretty small on that. So it really is both. We've got to have the combination of the space and the actual people to operate.
Okay. All right.
And the other piece we're trying to keep in mind is we don't want to do it and then stop. So we're trying to figure out what a really good long-term solution. It'd be worse for us if we did it, something really didn't go well and we just stopped. So we want to make sure that we've got it and that it can actually just keep going and not pose a bigger hiccup. I know that, you know, that's been a particular concern with IT, that whatever we do is consistent.
Yeah, I mean, most of our buildings, we've upgraded the wireless, we've upgraded the wiring, et cetera. The doors are good and all that. But if you picked another building, we might have to, I mean, the library, the extensive work on the doors and, you know, the access control. So there's all these little hiccups that come past it, but it's not just the cameras.
Right. All right, well, I want to keep things moving if we can, but thank you for a very comprehensive overview and some of the things, but I'm glad it's on our radar now so we can discuss it with a little more authority on this and hopefully find a solution, because I think Herm brings up a good point. You know, we need to be able to record these things, and it's important for, instead of just having a set of minutes, videos just change things, and it makes it, you can actually get context and feeling. It's like texting somebody. You don't get sarcasm or emotion or anything like that. With, at least if you see and hear somebody's words, you can take them in the context they were meant. But thank you. I know this has been a tough pull for you with equipment, but thank you for what you're doing on this, Monty. Any other any comments, questions, updates from any other board members? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to our last public comment session. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Use the hand raise function, and we have Toby. Toby, you're unmuted. Name and address for the record again, please.
Thank you. Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. You are indeed very fortunate to have Mitch Vieira for a town administrator. The town is also fortunate. Another subject. Tomorrow night, the Government and Bylaw Committee meets. I believe it's 7 o'clock. Mitch can correct me if I've got it wrong. They're going to go over, for the benefit of the public, what they've done so far, which are chapters 1 through 4, 6, and 7. I would hope your board would send a representative. You haven't so far been able or haven't succeeded in doing that. And I also hope that when the Government and Bylaw Committee does it, they do a better job than the Planning Board. That is, go through it, scrolling it down on the screen section by section, so that people actually have a chance to understand what's in front of them and make comments on it. Going back to your report on the affordable housing, I again object to the vote that the Community Preservation Committee made to give them $9,950. At that time, this organization of which they speak had not been incorporated. It is still not incorporated, and there was no written application at the time they were voted the money. It's presented as being the town's effort as affordable housing. It is no such thing. We have the town's effort encoded in the Code of Bylaws. That's the Community Housing Affordable Housing Trust. And it was put there at your board's direction. The town meeting voted it. I believe it's 5 years ago now. And that's a perfectly good framework and gives town oversight and all of the safeguards that go with it. That is, public meetings, public notice, minutes, the whole 9 yards, none of which is available to anyone with a private organization. It was said that they intend to retain title to the land under the houses that they would sell. Having dealt for years with Long Beach, you should be well aware that that's setting up a nightmare. And if they do retain title to the land, it's not taxable. So the whole thing is a can of worms, indeed a barrel of worms from start to finish. I hope you reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Anybody else for public comment this evening? Nope, hearing none. We are going to go into executive session at this point, if we can. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I think it's, right? Yeah. Mr. Chair, I move that the Selectmen enter into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation regarding Back Beach Neighbors Committee versus Town of Rockport, United States Court, CA number 120CV11274 NMG, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, votes may be taken, will not convene in public session. I move that the Board of Selectmen enter into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to discuss strategy in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, town in parentheses, town administrator, votes may be taken, will not reconvene in public session. I move that the Board of Selectmen enter into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation regarding Back Beach Neighbors Committee versus Town of Rockport, Land Court CA number 21, MISC 000174. If an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, votes may be taken, will not reconvene in public session. I move that the Board of Selectmen enter into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation regarding Back Beach Neighbors Committee versus Town of Rockport, Essex Superior Court number 2177, CV 000364. An open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Votes may be taken, will not reconvene in public session. I move that the Board of Selectmen enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, discuss strategy with respect to litigation regarding Sepola versus Town of Rockport et al., Essex Superior Court, docket number 2177-01006D. If an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, votes may be taken, will not reconvene in public session.
Very good, Sarah. Thank you very much for that. So the chair so declares that we are entering into executive session because by not doing so, it would be detrimental to the town's litigating and negotiating positions. The board will not reconvene in open session. Roll call vote. Selectmen, further discussion? None. Selectman Brackett?
Aye.
Selectwoman Wilkinson?
Aye.
Selectman Murphy?
Aye.
Selectman Lilia?
Aye.
Selectman Campbell votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. I would like to thank Kimberly Voltero for staying here so long with us. Tonight's executive session is going to begin. Thank you all. Have a great night.